Change it to what? No. It's still saying ISB HBK Sabbath night class morning here. How do you do that? Yeah. Yeah. No. Put them little settings. It says change source, change video, change template. Okay. Good. Let's see. Okay. I typed in what I needed. There's no okay.
What about it? That one.
That's it.
Shalom, welcome to Israelite School of Biblical History and Practical Knowledge. Excuse us for the technical difficulties. We're here at 8524 South Braeswood Boulevard, Houston, Texas 77071. You can join us for classes Monday and Wednesday from 7 to 10 p.m., Friday from 9 p.m. to 11:30, and then Saturday today, noon to 3. All right, we do that every Saturday. If you got any questions, go ahead and text us either on the chat right there, or you can hit us up 832-941-2443, and we'll address your questions here live in class. All right. If you got any donations, if you want to get money, cards, clothes, pens, paper, whatever, go ahead and hit us up on the email, hittitruth12@gmail.com. If it's a money donation or a tithe or anything you want to give up, we got the account set up for that. So I'll give you that right now. It's a Wells Fargo account under Israelite School of Biblical History and Practical Knowledge. And that's going to be 101-580-6167. All right, I'm going to say that one more time. 101-580-6167. And you can donate there at the Wells Fargo account under Israelite School of Biblical History. All right. So we're going to start with the Sabbath ceremony. We're going to begin the Sabbath ceremony. So those of you that are in the Houston area, we welcome y'all to come and join us. So that way you can get these ceremonies, get your anointing, things like that on the Sabbath service. All right. And that way you follow along a little more clearly with what's going on. All right. But we're going to get that started. I'm going to start by saying the blessing over the candles and the incense. And we're going to say that in Hebrew so that, that way you know what was being said. All right.
Barakata Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Hahawa'ah, Nathan Lanawa, Awar, Zashabat. So let's bless the Most High in the name of Yahweh Shai. He gives us a light this Sabbath. Then we're going to do the blessing over the incense. All right. Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Hahawa'ah, Naton Lanawa, Rayach, Nayachach, Bawara, Aman. All right. And that's a blessing over the incense. Just so everybody knows what that is, we just did the blessing over the incense. Thank you, Yahweh, for giving us the sweet smell. All right. All right, so we're going to say Amajim, Wapanya Yashar Allah. So, I'm sorry, Wapanya Yarashalam. So rise and face Jerusalem. All right, y'all going to repeat after me in Hebrew, and then the brother's going to translate it in English. Zayan Allah, you got to come up here though. 3. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Bahashem Yahweh Shai.
Bahashem Yahweh Shai.
Hahawa'ah.
Hahawa'ah.
Naton Lanawa.
Hashabah.
Hashabah. Bashalom.
Bashalom. Said, blessed be you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Amen.
This is Psalms chapter 121. All right, I'm going to say it. Y'all going to repeat it after me in Hebrew, and then the brother's going to translate in English.
God.
Anya.
Anya.
Haryam.
Haryam.
Ayem Nimya.
Ayem Nimya.
Ab.
Haharyam. Haharyam.
Ma'ayam.
Ma'ayam.
Yabawa'ah.
Yabawa'ah.
Isaiah.
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 Yabawa'ah.
Yabawa'ah.
Ma Yahweh.
Ma Yahweh.
Sha'aisha.
Sha'aisha.
Shemayim.
Shemayim.
Wa'aratazah.
Wa'aratazah.
La'ah.
La'ah.
Yanathan.
Yanathan.
Lamawat.
Lamawat.
Regalia.
Regalia.
Yala'ah.
Yala'ah.
Yanawam.
Yanawam.
Shashamarka.
Shashamarka.
Hana.
Hana.
La'ah.
La'ah.
Yanawam.
Yanawam.
Wala'ah.
Wala'ah.
Yayashan.
Yayashan.
Shashawamar.
Shashawamar.
Yasha'Allah.
Yasha'Allah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Shemaria.
Shemaria.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Aliyah.
Aliyah.
Al.
Yemiyah.
Yawamyam.
Yawamyam.
Hashamash.
Hashamash.
La'ah.
La'ah.
Hakaya.
Hakaya.
Wayara.
Wayara.
La'ah.
La'ah.
Balayala.
Balayala.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Yashamaria.
Yashamaria.
Akol.
Akol.
Rai.
Rai.
Yashamar.
Yashamar.
Napashya.
Napashya.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Yashamar.
Yashamar.
Hawalakia.
Hawalakia.
Wawa'aya.
Wabawa'aya.
Ma'aitha.
Ma'aitha.
Wa'aid.
Wa'ai.
Awalam.
Awalam.
Bahasham.
Bahasham.
Yahweh Shai.
Yahweh Shai.
Amen.
Amen. I will lift up my eyes to the unto the hill, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forever, evermore. Sorry.
All right. So I'm gonna say the Israelite credo. I'm gonna repeat that 3 times. Y'all don't have to repeat after me. Shema Yasher Allah. Yahweh Allah Hayanawa. Yahweh Achad. Shema Yasher Allah. Yahweh Allah Hayanawa. Yahweh Achad. Shema Yasher Yahweh Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh Achad.
Hear Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
All right. And we're doing the Our Father prayer from Matthew chapter 6, verse 9 down. All right. Y'all repeat after me in Hebrew. He's going to translate it in English afterward.
Abanawa,
Abanawa,
Shabashamayim,
Shabashamayim,
Wadash,
Wadash,
Hayah,
Hayah,
Shabkah,
Shabkah,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Malakwakah,
Malakwakah,
Raba'ah, Ratazaka,
Ratazaka,
Hayah,
Hayah,
Isha,
Isha,
Ba'aratazaka,
Ba'aratazaka,
Hawa,
Hawa,
Hayah,
Hayah,
Bashamayim,
Bashamayim,
Batawanawa,
Batawanawa,
Lacham,
Lacham,
Kal,
Kal,
Yamam,
Yamam,
Basalach Noah,
Basalach Noah,
Kawabak Noah,
Kawabak Noah,
Basalach Noah,
Basalach Noah,
Kawabak Yenoah,
Kawabak Yenoah,
Bala'ah,
Bala'ah,
Noah,
Noah,
Messiah 1,
Messiah 1,
Abal, Awashai Noah,
Awashai Noah,
Mayan,
Mayan,
Rai,
Rai,
Hayah,
Hayah,
Zakah,
Zakah,
Hamalakwa,
Hamalakwa,
Baha'ala,
Bala'ah,
Bahataba Arad,
Ba'atha, Arad,
I will love you,
I will love you.
Aman.
Amen. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Alright, these are the 10 commandments. Y'all repeat after me in Hebrew. He's going to translate in English from Exodus chapter 20. La'ah,
La'ah,
Yahaya,
Yahaya,
Lakah,
Lakah,
Alahayim,
Alahayim,
Achayim,
Achayim,
Alpanya,
Alpanya. Thou shalt have no other God before me.
La'ah,
La'ah,
Ta'aisha,
Ta'aisha,
Lakah,
Lakah,
Hasam,
Hazor,
Wala'ah,
Wala'ah,
Ta'ibadam.
Ta'ibadam. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
3. La'ah,
La'ah,
Talakwachah,
Talakwachah,
Sham,
Sham,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Bashawah.
Bashawah. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain.
Zakar,
Zakar,
Hayawam,
Hayawam,
Hashabat,
Hashabat,
Lakwadashwa,
Lakwadashwa. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Kabad,
Kabad,
Abaka,
Abaka,
Wa'amaka,
Wa'amaka. Honor thy father and thy mother.
La'ah,
La'ah,
Taratazak,
Taratazak. Thou shalt not kill.
La'ah,
La'ah,
Tana'ah,
Tana'ah. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
La'ah,
La'ah,
Daganah,
Daganah. Thou shalt not steal.
La'ah,
La'ah,
Ta'ainah,
Ta'ainah,
Shakwar,
Shakwar. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
La'ah,
La'ah,
Tachamad,
Tachamad,
Kol,
Kol,
Asherah,
Asherah,
Lara'aika.
Lara'aika. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Yeshavia, which means to be seated.
All right, so we're going to begin the Sabbath reading. We're going to begin the Sabbath reading where we left off in
Nehemiah chapter 10.
all right, yeah, that's Nehemiah chapter 10. This is Nehemiah chapter 10. Everybody got it? Say comments. Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 1. Now those that sealed were Nehemiah, the Tirshatha, the son of Hakaliah,
and Zidkijah, Sariah, Azariah, and Jeremiah, Pashur, Amira, Malachi, Hattush, Shabaniah, Maluk, Harim, Heramoth, Obadiah, Daniel, Jenna, Baruch, Meshullam, Abijah, and Mijamin, Messiah. This is verse 8. Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 8. Messiah, Belgiah, Shemaiah. These were the priests. And the Levites, both Jeshua, the son of Azaniah, Benui, of the sons of Henadad, Kadmiel, and their brethren, Shebaniah, Hodijah, Kelta, Mitelai, and Hanan. Verse 11. Misha, Rahab, Hashabiah, Zakur, Sherebiah, Shebaniah, Hodijah, Benanun, the chief of the people, Parash, Parhath, Moab, Elam, Zathu, and Bani. Verse 15. Buni, Asgad, Bibai, Adonijah, Bibai, Adin, Adar, Hitzkijah, Azur, Odijah, Hashem, Bizai, Hareth, Anathon, Nabadi, Magpishash, Meshallam, and Hirji. This is verse 21. Mishes, Abel, Zadok, Jadua, Pelatiah, Hanan, Hadai, Anani, Hosea, Ananiah, Habash, or Hashel, Halohesh, Pilaha, Shobek, Rayam, Hashabnah, and Manasseh. Verse 26. And Ahijah, Ahan, Anan, Melech, Harim, and Bahanah. Verse 28. And the rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the porters, the singers, the Nethinims, and all they that had separated themselves from the people of the lands unto the law of God, their wives, their sons, and their daughters, everyone having knowledge and having understanding. They cleaved to their brethren, their nobles, and entered into a curse and into an oath to walk in God's law, which was given by Moses, the servant of God, and to observe and do all the commandments of the Lord our God, and his judgments and his statutes, and that we would not give our daughters unto the people of the land, nor take their daughters for our sons. And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we should not buy it of them on the Sabbath or on the holy day, and that we would leave the seventh year in the exaction of every debt.
Right. Let me get that real quick. See, a lot of people get that confused and say, oh, okay, see, there's no buying or selling on the Sabbath. All right. When we read verse 31, it says, and if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we would not buy it of them. We got to understand the purpose of a lot of the law. We got to understand the purpose of what was going on in Nehemiah and Ezra's time. These cats was bringing their wares. The other nations was purposefully bringing their things And they weren't necessity items. These were luxury items. All right. When you, I think it was in Ezra. Did y'all read that already? In Ezra, you hear about them bringing figs and wine and stuff like that. It wasn't like water and necessary items. We already had prepared for the Sabbath on those things. They was bringing wine and luxury items, things we didn't really need to live. You understand? And that's the thing they were doing. It's like if I got a bunch of trinkets right now and went down to the stadium, right? When they were having a baseball game. I know a lot of people are going to be there, and I'm going to sell them a bunch of stuff they don't necessarily need, but I'm going to make money, right? That's what they was doing in Nehemiah and Ezra's time. These other nations knew we was all gathering together on the Sabbath. They knew we was all going to be in Jerusalem or in the holy city or at the temple, and they would, as we would gather together, they would be there with their stuff, trying to sell stuff to us. You understand? And you have brothers and sisters, instead of paying attention to the reading of the law, sitting around buying trinkets, sitting around buying wine and figs and things that could have waited till the next day. Y'all see that?
Yeah.
So this is not a law that you can't buy or sell nothing. Like if a brother brings you a gallon of water and you're outside teaching in the hot sun, you don't got to be like, hey, when'd you buy that water, brother? You know what I mean? We had the brother Subster one do that. He bought a gallon of water for these brothers that was out street teaching from another camp. And they checked it like, when'd you get that water? Where you get that at? He's like, I bought it from the store for y'all, man, because y'all out in the hot sun. They was like, no, we ain't drinking that. You bought it on the Sabbath.
Wow.
Like, nigga, y'all out doing work on the Sabbath. So, y'all see that?
Wow.
Like, you guys are defeating your own purpose. You sitting out here teaching on the Sabbath. That's lawful. You ain't gonna drink water the whole time? Y'all see that?
Come.
Brother can't do something good for you on the Sabbath, which is what Christ had to establish. So this scripture right here is not a limiter. It's not a limitation on the Sabbath. It's not a limitation on whether you want to buy and sell on the Sabbath. You don't see no laws that says you can't buy or sell nothing on the Sabbath. The point of it was that you're taking like if a brother just got up right now while we're in the middle of the reading and giving you the understanding of what we're reading, right? Brother just get up right now and go across the street to buy a pack of bubble gum. Okay, you didn't need that, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to leave the knowledge and wisdom of the Most High, disrespectfully jump up in the middle of class and walk over to get a piece of gum. You understand? This is what niggas was doing on the Sabbath. And I'm using that word very, very strictly. All right? Because the true men of the Most High, as we just read, it says, verse 29, they claimed to their brethren. See that? They stayed with the brothers. They weren't running off to buy wine and figs and dates. Figs and dates are already a dry food. You understand? It's already a dried out food. It's already dehydrated. It's not going to get old. You understand? You could wait till tomorrow to buy it. Still going to be just as good. Wine is in a bottle, in a cork. You understand? The older it gets, the better. The longer you wait to buy it, the longer you wait to pop it open, the better. Right? So I don't need wine today on the Sabbath. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to be drinking while I'm reading? Get inebriated while I'm reading? Y'all see that? What's the question?
It says, so we can't buy or sell anything during Sabbath?
No, that's what we're explaining is, yes, you can. If you're in a dire situation where like we got our business, right? The mall doesn't close on Saturday. It doesn't close just because it's our Sabbath day. So we keep our business open selling oils. That helps maintain the school. That keeps the lights on here at the school. If a brother or a sister would end up in jail for any reason, that gets their bail money. If a brother or sister is destitute of this world's good, like food, clothing, shelter, we help provide that through that business. So does it close on the busiest day of their year? No. We keep it open. Y'all see that? Now, fortunately for us, they close during Passover. So we're good. Actually, they don't. Not every time. Unless it falls on their Easter, we don't get to close during Passover. So we have to have a brother hang back and not go to the Passover and then close early. All right? So in certain situations, if you read the scriptures, you find out that Christ gave the understanding, all right, that no, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath? Yes, it is. See, the Pharisees asked him the same question, like, why are you healing on the Sabbath day? Well, it's not unlawful to do good on the Sabbath. See that? If you have a, he said, he used the analogy, if you had a donkey that fell off in a ditch, would you not pull it out on the Sabbath? And I asked brothers the same question, like, if your mom fell down the stairs, you just gonna sit there and be like, it's the Sabbath, I can't do no work. You know what I mean? Sorry, mom. Yeah, wait till tomorrow. Suck it up. Y'all see that? No, you're going to go down there and help her, regardless of the fact that you are exerting work on the Sabbath. Now, I don't like having to go into this because this is a whole damn class. But you thinking, you using your brain, your heart beating, is work on the Sabbath.
Using the bathroom, isn't that work?
Using the bathroom is work on the Sabbath. Right. You turn your car on, if you turn the light switch on, all that is work on the Sabbath. All right? So, there's no way to escape the work on the Sabbath. Remember, like Christ said, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. All right? The whole premise of the law is to relieve us from the house of bondage, right? From the house of Egypt, from the house of bondage, right? So he doesn't want us in bondage to anything, not even the Sabbath day. You understand? Hopefully that I can make more sense of that for you. If it's going to keep you in bondage, if it's going to make you be a burden on you to not do anything on the Sabbath, like if your rent's not going to get paid because you don't go to work and then they fire you because it's the Sabbath day, go to work.
All right.
Y'all see that? We're not in our kingdom where we get to mandate what days are off and what days are work. Y'all see that? We're in their kingdom. We got to, right now, do as the Romans do. Y'all understand? But what you don't have to do, you don't have to have sex on the Sabbath. You don't have to get drunk. You don't have to drink on the Sabbath. You don't gotta go to the club on the Sabbath. You can do what these brothers was doing, which is get together for the reading, right? Get the understanding from the Bible. You can do that on the Sabbath. You understand? But things that aren't a necessity, like you got kids, right? Sometimes you ain't got time, especially for y'all to get off late at work on Friday night. You ain't got time to have a meal already prepared and then feed the kids before the Sabbath happens and all that stuff like that. Sometimes you got to cook on the Sabbath. Sometimes you got to get a meal prepared for them on the Sabbath. Well, you gonna let your kids starve because sorry, I can't feed you. It's the Sabbath, right? Your kid 5 years old got to eat every 2 hours pretty much. And you ain't gonna feed them because it's the Sabbath. That's work. Y'all see that?
There's so much technicality of trying to keep the law. Israel wants to abide by, like, they want to keep that that Sabbath like strictly like it's the first and foremost most valuable commandment to keep. You know what I mean? But in doing so, you still break it.
Right.
Whether you're eating, which is work. Whether you're trying to lay down, which is work. You know what I mean? You're sleeping. Your body's working. You see what I'm saying? So even in the strictness of trying to keep the Sabbath, you still break it. Not knowing that you don't understand.
Y'all see that? All right. So hopefully that answers their question. But was that texted?
Yeah, it was a text.
All right. But yeah, go ahead and read on.
Someone got a question.
What's that?
In verse 29, where it says entered into a curse, what does that mean?
They claimed to their brethren, their nobles, and entered into a curse. Let me get that for you real quick. Where's that? We're on Nehemiah 10, verse 29, right?
Time.
They clave to their brethren, their nobles, and entered into a curse. Right, so you got the Hebrew word for that is Allah. And it has 4 different definitions. An oath of covenant, a curse, either from God or from men, or an execration. So what they entered into was the oath with the Most High. You understand? So, a lot of times you got these words in English, right? And they not mistranslated, but they gave as close as the understanding as they can get. So we got to go to the Hebrew to see, okay, what would we really mean there? Would we really want to enter into a curse? Like, we all men of understanding of the scriptures and know that we're trying to come out from under the curses, right? Are we all getting together so we can join together under a curse? Nah. See that? So, you had a lot of, the translators, they had a certain understanding of the Hebrew, but then at the same time, it's like they didn't have the understanding of the spirit of the Hebrew. They had enough sense to at least give you the concordance and show you that there's more definitions of that same word. Y'all see that? So they did have that, so you can go back and see, okay, let's use our common sense and say, did they enter into a curse or did they enter into a oath? Did they swear to uphold the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High? That's why when it says they entered into a curse, comma, and into an oath, a lot of times in Hebrew, you'll see a word that you don't understand, and the definition will be right after. So if you look at Jacob, right, in Genesis, he's fighting with the angel. He wins over it, and he gets his blessing, he gets his name, then he builds an altar, and he calls it Penuel, because I have seen the Most High face to face. Right? Penuel means face of God. Pan wa'ala. Y'all see that? So it gives you the definition right after the name. Y'all see that? What's that?
I was gonna say, can you read the Hebrew meaning of curse again?
Yeah, it's Allah. I'll write it up here.
Was that in the e-sword that you pulled up from?
Yeah, same thing. My sword, e-sword, Zondervan. Strong's Concordance.
Strong concordance.
Yeah, that's it.
That long. That's Greek.
I encourage brothers to get two types of books.
To get the Hebrew understanding now, it's called a Stone Edition Tanakh. All right, it's a green hardcover book.
Trying to move all these little cords and stuff out the way. All right, so this is called a Stone Edition Tanakh. All right, and it'll have the Hebrew on one side, all right, and it'll have the English on the other side. You can also get a complete Jewish Bible. They have those. Well, they give you a little closer translation to the original Hebrew. Let me see if I can get that Nehemiah real quick.
It's a blue one.
And that was chapter 10, verse 29, right?
Yes, sir.
And you got to watch these too. That's why you got to learn your Hebrew, because I had a brother tell me, oh yeah, when I posted Daniel 3:25 to show him that Christ was in the Old Testament, and it said, I see 4 men walking loose, and one of them looks like the Son of God, right? And the translation that he had in his Hebrew English thing, it said one of them looks like the son of a divine being. Or no, it said one of them looks like a divine being.
That's how they translated Son of God, right? And I read next to it in the Hebrew, and I was like, bruh, it says Bar Alahayim, Son of God. But you got to read it in Hebrew to know that, because the translator got that wrong. See that? So you got to be able to see both, because a lot of these cats, they just go off of what somebody told them instead of doing the research themselves. The remainder of the people, the Kohanim, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the singers, the Nethinim, and everyone who had separated themselves from the people, all those who had knowledge and understanding supported their brethren, their dignitaries, and entered into a curse and an oath to follow the Most High's Torah. So it gives you the same thing here. See that? That is basically, it's calling it a curse. See that? But it's just another word for an oath, swearing. All right?
10:29.
Because see, we are. Remember, they entered under the curse of the law, right? Meaning, if I backtalk my mother, I get stoned by the congregation. Those are the curses of the law, right? I get found in adultery, I get stoned by the congregation. Any sin, a lot of the sins were death-worthy offenses. So they entered in to agree that, okay, if I take this oath, I'm also subject to this curse. See that? So the word is not misplaced. All right? They did enter into that Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 through the end of the chapter, through verse 68. You understand? They entered into that part, but they also entered into the blessing. Y'all see that? Right. So that word was, what do you got?
It says swearing oath accompanied by curse.
Right.
So it's giving you the definition of that word they're about to explain.
That's exactly what it says after, right? When you get the complete Jewish, it said, join their kinsmen and their leaders in swearing an oath accompanied by a curse. And then in brackets, it says, in case of non-compliance. See that? So what happens if you don't obey the oath? You get the curse. See that? That's like, that's like anything else. Okay, you know what? I promise you this is true under penalty of perjury, under penalty of death, right? They do that when you go swear on the stand in court, right? They tell you, okay, under penalty of perjury, I swear that all these things that I've said are true, right? So you're entering into that curse, that if what you're saying is wrong, if you don't uphold your end of the bargain, you get this punishment. Y'all see that? So that word was Allah. Where are these markers at?
Right.
All right, you got La, and Ha are connected. All right, in the Assyrian Hebrew, you would have it like this. Let me see. In a minute. All right, so you would have Allah, or Aleph, Lamed, He. All right, you would have these. Hopefully, y'all can see that. It's I know this marker is kind of light, but it's pronounced Allah. All right, or kind of like how the Muslims pray to Allah, right? That's how you pronounce this word. All right. So hopefully everybody got that. Can you see it? It's real light. Oh, I just put ALAW. That's the phonetic pronunciation. So y'all got that? Well, you see how we had to go into like 3 different books to get that word, right? We had to get the Strong's Concordance. We had to get the Stone Edition Tanakh. Then finally, we got the understanding from the Complete Jewish that it was in case of non-compliance. See that? So the curse happens if you don't comply to the law, to the oath. All right? But yeah, this is the way you'll see it if you're reading the Tanakh. All right? You'll see it like this. If you find a old Hebrew stone somewhere and all the writing is in ancient Hebrew, it'll look like this. All right? Yeah, so, because there's a lot of things being unearthed, a lot of evidence of our true nationality being unearthed in different places. So you got to know this because there's a lot of stones being turned up with this writing on it. And then you got to know this because this is what they translated to give it to the Israelis to make it seem like they're the original people. You know what I mean? And then your Bibles, your Stone Edition Tanakh, any Israeli newspapers, anything like that is going to be written in this modern Hebrew or Assyrian Hebrew. All right? So y'all got a little taste of that. So that's what that means when it says that they clave to their brethren, their nobles, and entered into a curse and into an oath. Y'all see that? All right, go ahead. Any other questions?
This is Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 32. Also, we made ordinances for us to charge ourselves yearly with the third part of a shekel for the service of the house of God, for the shewbread, and for the continual meat offering, and for the continual burnt offering, and the Sabbaths, and the new moons, for the set feasts, and for the holy things, and for the sin offering, to make an atonement for Israel, and for all the work of the house of our God. And we cast the lots among the priests, the Levites, and the people for the wood offering to bring it into the house of our God, after the houses of our fathers, at times appointed year by year to burn upon the altar of the Lord our God, as it is written in the law, and to bring the first fruits of our ground, and the first fruits of the fruit of all trees, year by year, unto the house of the Lord. Verse 36. Also the firstborn of our sons and of our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstlings of our herds and of our flocks, to bring to the house of our God, unto the priests that minister in the house of our God. And that we should bring the first fruits of our dough, and our offering, and the fruit of all manner of trees, of wine, and of oil, unto the priest, to the chambers of the house of our God, and the tithes of our ground unto the Levites, that the same Levites might have the tithes in all the cities and our villages, and our tillage. And the priest, the son of Aaron, shall be with the Levites when the Levites take tithes. And the Levites shall bring up the tithes of the tithes into the house of our God, to the chambers unto the treasure house. Verse 39. For the children of Israel and the children of Levi shall bring the offering of the corn, and of the new wine, and the oil unto the chambers, where are the vessels of the sanctuary, and the priests that minister, and the porters, and the singers, and we will not forsake the house of our God.
So y'all got any questions on that?
No.
All right. Yeah, and again, if y'all got any questions online, go ahead and you can put them on the chat, or you can text 832-941-2443. All right. So we're going to read on Nehemiah chapter 11.
This is Nehemiah chapter 11. And the rulers of the people dwelt at Jerusalem. The rest of the people also cast lots to bring 1 of 10 to dwell in Jerusalem, the holy city, and the 9 parts to dwell in other cities. And the people blessed all the men, that willingly offered themselves to dwell at Jerusalem. Now there are the chief of the province that dwelt in Jerusalem. But in the cities of Judah dwelt everyone in his possession in their cities, to wit, Israel, the priests, and the Levites, and the Nethinims, and the children of Solomon's servants. And at Jerusalem dwelt certain of the children of Judah, and of the children of Benjamin. Of the children of Judah, Athana, the son of Uzziah, the son of Zechariah, the son of Demira, the son of Shephatiah, the son of Mahaliah, of the children of Perez, and Mashiah, the son of Baruch, the son of Kohose, the son of Haziah, the son of Abadiah, the son of Jorid, the son of Zechariah, the son of Shalani. The sons of Perez that dwelt at Jerusalem were 468 valiant men. And these are the sons of Benjamin: Shalu, the son of Meshullam, the son of Joed, the son of Pedaiah, the son of Joliah, the son of Messiah, the son of Ithiah, the son of Josiah, and after him Gabi, Salai, 928, and Joel, the son of Zikri, was their overseer. And Judah, the son of Senua, was second over the city. Of the priests, Zediah, the son of Jorid, Jashin, Suriah, the son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshullam, the son of Zadok, the son of Merath, the son of Ahata, was the ruler of the house of God. And the brethren that did the work of the house were 822. And Adiah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Pelaliah, the son of Amzi, the son of Zechariah, the son of Pashur, and the son of Malachi. And his brethren, chief of the fathers, 242. And Amshai, the son of Azrael, the son of Ahasai, the son of Meshelah, the son of Emer, and their brethren, mighty men of valor, and 128. And their overseers was Zediah, the son of one of the great men.
Now, some I'm looking at, as y'all reading this, what you're reading is these brothers' genealogies. You understand? A lot of these people, they're saying, these so-and-so people ain't the tribes, or they're trying to stick to the law of Ezra, right? And, you got to cast off your heathen women, and you got to not buy and sell on the Sabbath. Another rule that Ezra and Nehemiah had established at this time was that you had to be able to prove your genealogy going to the tribes of Israel, or else you were kicked out with those people that clave to their heathen wives. You understand? Or else you was kicked out with the people that wouldn't obey the Sabbath anymore. Y'all see that? So, if you couldn't prove your genealogy in Ezra and Nehemiah's time, you were cut off from among your people.
Right.
That's what these brothers is missing when they read Ezra and Nehemiah, is that all these men, all these priests, had to prove their genealogy. So for all that, we're going to stick to the law of Ezra. No, you're not. Not unless you can produce a scroll going back all the way to Judah. The man, Judah, that came out of Jacob. You understand? Not unless you can produce a scroll that says you're of what tribe you're from, which was lost to us on the slave ships. Y'all see that?
Right.
If you can't produce those records, you was cut off from Israel. So if you want to go under Ezraite law or Nehemiah law, you're cut off from Israel because you can't produce no records. Y'all see that? I get a lot of arguments with people like that. You're not supposed to buy and sell on the Sabbath. That's what Ezra said. Okay, Ezra said prove your genealogy too, or you're not an Israelite.
Right.
Y'all see that? Now, if you have understanding, which was what he required everybody to get also, right? you understand why he was doing it, what time frame they were in, where they were at. Y'all see that? We just come out of this captivity, and he's making sure that everybody that's on the priesthood, he's reaffirming the priesthood, which we're going to do. But Christ is going to have to establish and deal with the angels and be like, okay, what lineage is he of? Okay, he's a Levite, he gets to be the priest. Y'all see that? He's going to establish that. It ain't going to be us. Y'all see that? It definitely ain't going to be the DNA centers, because they ran by the so-called white man that's been lying. And like I always say, every time they pull the DNA result, you're from some tribe in Africa. Every time. Like, really? Everybody on earth is from Africa? What about the Chinese? What about Japanese? What about, not everybody came from Africa? Y'all see that? Then those Africans, how come you haven't traced them back further? Because we all came from Mesopotamia. That's older than Africa. Y'all see that? That's older than Egypt, Sumer, Akkad. Mesopotamia is the original civilization. How come you're not tracing back to there? Oh, because we don't know any Mesopotamians. Well, there you go. So your DNA only goes back so far. Y'all see that? Your DNA doesn't go back to Noah. Your DNA goes to his, not even to Ham, his son. Y'all see that? Your DNA just goes to Africa. Well, Africa wasn't even an established country until like, I think 1000 AD or something like that, where they called it Africa. Somewhere around there. It was named after Scipio Africanus, or you have another brother named Afer, and then you got, when you go to Josephus, he tells you it was named after somebody else. All that was in the Greek and Roman times. You understand? None of those names trace back to Ham, except for what they used to call Egypt, which is Kemet, all right, which comes from Ham. You understand? Well, what if you're not Hamitic? What if you're Japhetic or Shemitic? You don't trace back to Ham. You understand? What's that?
I was Nehemiah when they talk about the sign up to the registry.
There you go. Right. And what is that? We already read it? Or?
Yeah, that was last week.
Read it again.
This is Nehemiah chapter 7. Yeah, chapter 7, verse 64.
Right. Nehemiah 7, verse 64. Read that.
These sought the register among those that were reckoned by genealogy, but it was not found. Therefore were they as polluted, put from the priesthood.
Oops. Why don't you want to obey that part of Nehemiah? Why don't you want to obey that part of Ezra? Because it's echoed in Ezra also. Right. He says the same thing in Ezra. If you couldn't go back through your genealogy and find out your registry, you were not part of the priesthood. You were not an Israelite. You was cut off. You understand? Okay. You got to obey all of it. You can't just obey the part you like. Go ahead.
Okay. This is Nehemiah chapter 11, verse 15. Also, the Levites, Shemaiah, the son of Hashub, the son of Ezrikam, the son of Hashbiah, the son of Benai, and Shabbathah, and Joazabad, the chief of the Levites, had the oversight of the outward business of the house of God. And Mattaniah, the son of Mechah, the son of Zabdi, the son of Asaph, was the principal to begin the thanksgiving and prayer. And Bagbukia, the second among his brethren, and Abda, the son of Shemuel, the son of Galal, the son of Jeduthun. All the Levites in the whole city were 284. Verse 19. Moreover, the porters, Akabah, Talmon, and their brethren that kept the gates were 172. And the residue of Israel of the priests and the Levites were in all the cities of Judah, everyone in his inheritance. But the Nethinims dwelt in Obiah, and Zihah and Gishpa were over the Nethinims. The overseer also, the Levites at Jerusalem, was Yerzee, the son of Bani, the son of Hashabah, the son of Mathaniah, the son of Mitcha, the sons of Ashvath. The singers were the business of the house of God. The singers were over the business of the house of God. Verse 23, for it was the king's commandment concerning them, that a certain portion should be for the singers due for every day. And Pathahiah, the son of Meshezabel, the children of Zariah, the son of Judah, was at the king's hand in all matters concerning the people. And for the villages and their fields, some of the children of Judah dwelt in Kirgathabar, and in the villages thereof, and at Dibon, and in the villages thereof, and at Jekabzeel, and in the villages thereof, and at Jeshua, and at Moladah, and at Beth Pelet, and at Hazarsha, and at Beersheba, and in the villages thereof, and at Ziklag, and at Mekonah, and in the villages thereof, and at Enrimmon, and at Zerah, and at Jarmuth, Zanoah, Abdullam, and in their villages, at Lachish, and in the fields thereof, at Zakai, and in the villages thereof, and they dwelt from Beersheba unto the village of Hinnom,
The valley of Hinnom.
the valley of Hinnom.
So a lot of these names, you look at them like, wow, we sit here just reading names, right? A lot of these names, they go back and we'll hear them again, or you heard them before when we went through the Genesis breakdown, or when we went through the Genesis reading, or we went through the Exodus reading. These are all your registries. These are your ancestry. You understand? So these names are just as important as you know in Abraham Lincoln here in America, when you knew George Washington and George Washington Carver, or any of these brothers. These names are even more important than that. These were established names in Israel. These were the heads of business and the heads of certain things in Israel. And if you notice, it wasn't just for the priests, because people take that verse we read out of Nehemiah 7, right, and say, oh, that was the priesthood. No. You had to have your registry for any part of the business. If you want to be a singer, what's your registry? See that? If you want to be over the business angle, what's your registry? Are you an Israelite or not? You can't prove it? Okay, you cut off from among your people. Y'all see that? So these things were done back then. Y'all see that? These names that we're going over, they're important. Everything has an important. When you read that the Valley of Hinnom right there, that's what you see as the word hell in the scriptures. Sometimes, all right? That's what people try to say, is the word hell or Gehenna. You understand? They're saying, oh, that's the Valley of Hinnom. That is not an actual hell. See that? Because that word, the Valley of Hinnom translates as Gehenna. All right? So when Christ is talking about you going to Gehenna, or somebody says you're going to Gehenna, they say, oh, yeah, that's just the Valley of Hinnom. No, it's not the Valley of Hinnom. All right? The Valley of Hinnom was a place where we threw our trash and we burnt our trash, right? But that place, the fire has died out and it's long gone. See that? Now, that place is referring to hell. You understand? So when you see that Valley of Hinnom, that's an important thing to know about. That's an important thing you want to, okay, let me go to my Zondervan and find out what that is. See that? So a lot of these names, a lot of these things we kind of just glossing over, we reading over, but as you read on your own and do your own study, you're going to pick apart these words, pick apart these people, who they are, what their names mean. Y'all see that? Because it's going to bring you out a little deeper understanding of the scriptures. All right? Y'all with me? All right. Huh?
No, I was saying over here.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
This is Nehemiah chapter 11, verse 31. The children also of Benjamin from Geba dwelt at Mishmash, in Egypt, in Bethel, and in their villages, and in Ethanath, Noab, Ananiah, Hazor, Ramah, Gittayim, Hadid, Zeboim, Nebola, verse 35, Lob, and Ono, the village of craftsmen. And of the Levites were divisions in Judah and in Benjamin.
Any questions?
I was going to ask, why were there divisions in the Levites, the Judah, and the Benjamins?
Oh, where it says, and of the Levites were divisions in Judah and in Benjamin. Every Levite had to be with every part of Israel. See that? There had to be a Levite priesthood representing each tribe of Israel. So they had a division. A division of Levites would go to Judah, a division of them will go to Gad, a division will go here, a division will go there.
So it was just the Levites that were divided, not Judah and Benjamin.
Right. That's why when we do the 12 tribe sign, we say these are the 2.5 tribes, and then we got the 9.5 tribes. Where's that half tribe come from? Half the tribe of Levi had to go with Judah, half the tribe had to go with Israel when we had the split in 933 BC. All right. But yeah, that way they can perform the office of the priesthood. All right. All right. Once again, if you have any questions online, go ahead and hit us up. And you can hit us up either in the YouTube chat or at the phone number 832-941-2443. Please text only on that number.
This is Nehemiah chapter 12. Now these are the priests and the Levites that went up with Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, and Sariah, and Jeremiah, Ezra, and Amariah, Malach, Hatush, Shekaniah, Ream, Merimoth, Edu, Zinatho, Abijah, Miamin, Mahada, Bilgah, Shemaiah, and Jorib, and Jodiah, Shalom, Amak, Hilkiah, Jediah. These were the chief of the priests of their brethren in the days of Jeshua. Moreover, the Levites, Jeshua, Ben-Nui, Kadirmiel, Sherebiah, and Judah, and Mattaniah, which was over the thanksgiving, he and his brethren. Also, Bebukiah and Uni, their brethren, were over against them in the watches. And Jeshua begot Joachim. Joachim also begot Elshia. And Elshia begot Joadah. And Joadah begot Jonathan. And Jonathan begot Jaddua. And in the days of Joachim were priests, the chief of the fathers of Sariah, Miriam, and Jeremiah, Hannah. Verse 13, of Ezra, Meshullam, of Amariah, Johanan. Verse 14, of Meliku, Jonathan, of Shebaniah, Joseph, of Harim, Harim, Adnah, of Miramoth, Helkiah, of Idu, Zechariah, of Jonathan, Meshullam, verse 17, of Abijah, Zikri, of Miniamin, of Moadiah, Miltiah, of Bilgah, Shemshua, of Shemaiah, Jehathan. This is Nehemiah chapter 12 and verse 20. Nehemiah chapter 12 and verse 20. Of Shalai, Kalai, of Amak Eber, of Hilkiah, Hashabiah, of Jediah, Nathaniel. The Levites in the days of Elshabib, Jodid, and Jonathan, and Jaddua were reconciled chief of the fathers. Also the priests of the reign of Darius the Persian. the sons of Levi, the chief of the fathers, were written in the book of the Chronicles, even until the days of Jonathan, the son of Elishabad. The chief of the Levites, Hashabiah, Sherebiah. This is Nehemiah chapter 12 and verse 24. And the chief of the Levites, Hashabiah, Sherebiah, and Jeshua, the son of Jedmiel, with their brethren over against them, to praise and to give thanks, according to the commandment of David, the man of God, warred over against war.
See, that's where you read about Asaph, where you saw that name Asaph, A-S-A-P-H, right? He was the chief singer. So a lot of the psalms you see to Asaph, the chief singer, right? This is in Ezra's time. This is in Nehemiah's time. These men. You see him as like, you see Psalms over here, you see Samuel way over here, and then you read about Nehemiah and Ezra way back here, right? So if you're thinking of it chronologically, you're like, oh, these men didn't come till hundreds of years after David. Nah, these were men under David. You understand? So in David's time, if you couldn't prove your genealogy, you was kicked out of Israel. Y'all see that? What was that?
So that started at David's time?
Yeah.
So
a lot of this. Let me make sure though. Let me make sure at the beginning of Nehemiah, because like I said on there, this went up until the time of Darius the Persian, right? So this went up till the Persian Medes came and ruled over us. But this is the words of Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah, and it came to pass in the month Chislew in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the palace. So we're dealing with right. This is during one of the captivities. Y'all see that? When you read chapter 1, this is after one of the captivities. But all these men were carrying off the orders of David. See that? So when what you're dealing with is around you got Rehoboam, right, which was David's grandson. Then after him, we had all these wicked kings, right? And then when you deal with about First Kings like 17, stuff like that, you're dealing with what's that dude's name? Hosea the king. When you get down to Hosea the king, which was one of David's sons, we're in captivity to the Assyrians. See that? After the Assyrians, we end up with with what? That was after the Assyrians. I think we had the Babylonians. Then the Babylonians get conquered by right. That was Babylonian. Then they get conquered by the Persians and Medes. See that? Which is Darius and all those people. So we're only dealing with a few, maybe a few generations after David. Y'all see that? You're dealing with like David's like great grandsons or something like that. See that? So yeah, they are maybe 100 or 200 years apart. But the thing is, they're still dealing in that time of, okay, this is what David said to do. This is what David laid out. Y'all see that? So David would have told them, kick out anybody that can't prove their ancestry. So if you follow David and you can't prove your lineage, you kicked out. If you follow Ezra or Nehemiah and you can't prove your lineage, you're kicked out. Huh? No, because Alexander conquered Darius. Right. That's right before the Greek Empire came into power. See that? In 333 BC. Y'all see that? So you got from 933 BC to 333 BC. This is the time frame we're dealing with. In between there, it's about 600 years. Where you're dealing with David, Nehemiah, Ezra, all these prophets. You understand? Isaiah, Jeremiah, they're all clumped into this 600-year period. All right? So yeah, y'all got to see these things because it gives you a little more understanding that, you know what? These men was carrying on commandments our forefathers dealt with. You know what I mean? These men were following the same thing David would have said for to be done. You understand? So why are we saying that? Oh, okay. If your wife, if you come in and your wife is not of Israel, you got to kick her out. Why? Oh, because of Ezra, because of Nehemiah. well, can you prove your registry to even tell me that? Because Ezra and Nehemiah said you had to do that. And they was up under David, so he would have told you had to do that. Y'all see that? See, a lot of these cats want to kick out certain tribes, they want to kick out certain things and customs. They don't read the scriptures. They don't get the understanding. Like, you found one verse in Ezra and Nehemiah to prove your point, but you didn't read Ezra. You didn't read Nehemiah. You didn't read the circumstances concerning why they were doing what they did. Y'all see that?
So if you get the technicality of the law, like we said before, even on the Sabbath, you know what I mean? Even if you're trying to get technical on just being in a tribe, right? You still fall short. You know what I mean?
Which is why Christ said, let the wheat and the tares grow together, and the angels will sort that out. Y'all see that? He ain't even bothering with that nonsense. He gonna have underlings do it. Y'all see that? Well, they're gonna be higher than you, so it ain't gonna be men doing it. It's gonna be the angels. You understand? But
This is Nehemiah chapter 12, verse 25. Matniah and Bakukia. This is Nehemiah chapter 12 and verse 25.
Right.
Obadiah, Meshullam, Talmon, Akab were porters keeping the ward at the threshold of the gates. These were in the days of Joachim, the son of Jeshua, the son of Jozadak, and in the days of Nehemiah the governor, and of Ezra the priest, the scribe. And at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sought the Levites out of all their places to bring them to Jerusalem, to keep the dedication with gladness, both with thanksgiving and with singing with cymbals, psalteries, and with harps. And the sons of the singers gathered themselves together, both out of the plain country round about Jerusalem, and from the villages of the Natalath. Verse 29. Also from the house of Gilgal, and out of the fields of Jebah and Asmaveth, for the singers had builded them villages round about Jerusalem. And the priests and the Levites purified themselves, and purified the people, and the gates and the wall. Verse 31. Then I brought up the princes of Judah upon the wall, and appointed 2 great companies of them that gave thanks, whereof one went on the right hand unto the wall toward the dung gate. And after them went Hoshea, and half of the prince of Judah, and Azariah, Ezra, and Meshullam, Judah and Benjamin, and Shemaiah and Jeremiah, and certain of the priests' sons with trumpets, namely Zechariah, the son of Jonathan, the son of Shemaiah, the son of Mattaniah, the son of Michaiah, the son of Zakur, the son of Asaph, and his brethren, Shemaiah, and Azariah, Milaliah, Gilai, Mahai, Nathaniel, and Judah. Hanani with the musical instruments of David, the man of God, and Ezra, the scribe, before them. And at the fountain gate, which was over against them, they went by the stars of the city of David, at the going up of the wall, above the house of David, even unto the water gate eastward. And the other company of them that gave thanks went over against them, and I after them. And the half of the people upon the wall, from beyond the tower of the furnaces, even unto the broad wall. And from above the gate of Ephraim, and above the old gate, and above the fish gate, and the tower of Hananel, and the tower of Mia, even to the sheep gate. And they stood still in the prison gate. So stood the 2 companies of them that gave thanks in the house of God, and I in the house of the rulers with me. And the priest, Elkim, Mashiach, Menaminan, and this is going to be Nehemiah chapter 12 and verse 42. And Messiah, actually, on 41. This is Nehemiah chapter 12 and verse 41. And the priest, Elikim, Mashiach, and Menamin, Micaiah, Elaniah, Zechariah, and Hananiah with trumpets, and Messiah, and Shemaiah, and Eleazar, and Uzi, and Uzziah, and Johanan, and Malchijah, and Elam, and Ezer, and the singers sang loud with Jezariah, their overseer. Verse 43. Also that day they offered great sacrifices and rejoiced, for God had made them rejoice with great joy. The wives also and the children rejoiced, so that the joy of Jerusalem was heard even afar off. And at the time were some appointed over the chambers of the treasures, for the offering, for the firstfruits, and for the tithes, to gather them into the fields of the cities, the portions of the law, for the priests and Levites. For Judah rejoiced for the priests and for the Levites that waited. And both the singers and the porters kept the word, or kept the ward of their God, and the ward of the purification, according to the commandment of David and of Solomon his son. For in the days of David and Asaph of old, there were chief of the singers, the songs of praise and thanksgiving unto God. And all Israel in the days of Zerubbabel and in the days of Nehemiah gave the portion of the singers and the porters, every day his portion. And they sanctified holy things unto the Levites, and the Levites sanctified them unto the children of Aaron.
Right? Any questions? Okay. This is Nehemiah chapter what? This is Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 1. And on that day they read the book of Moses in the audience of the people, and therein was found written that the Amorites and the Moabites should not come into the congregation of God forever, because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Baal against them, and he should curse them. Howbeit our God turned the curse into a blessing. Do you guys know the story about that? No? But here, I want you to look them up. Basically, Moab and Ammon, right? They tried to get him because he was, I believe he was a prophet, right? He was, and they were trying to get him to set a curse over Israel. But every time he tried to speak against Israel, he ended up speaking a blessing.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, because we read that over in the story prior to getting here, right? We read that in the story, and that's what happened. You got it?
No, what is it?
Yeah, B-A.
Right.
It's B-A-L-A-A-M. You got that?
That's around Numbers chapter 24.
Numbers chapter 24. You got it?
No.
Bear with me. Give me 1 second.
Verse 3.
Where?
Numbers 24, verse 3 says,
Numbers 24, verse 3. Verse 3, you said what?
start at verse 3 or verse 1?
Verse 1. All right, yeah, so it said, and when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to speak the Lord to bless Israel, he went not, as at other times, to seek for enchantments. He set it in his face toward the wilderness. Yeah, let me see. You got it? Here, read it.
This is it's Baal. Balaam.
Baal. No, that's Baal. It's Lord of the Hills. But basically, bear with me 1 second. So, let me see.
Numbers verse 10 talks about.
Yeah, Numbers. Of his name was certain that discussed below. Every ancient, therefore, a non-son of Israel, a prophet, and he was a prophet and the son of Beor. Through Beor is not also certain identified. It's 22. So he's in chapter 20. You read Numbers chapter 22 through 24. All right. All right. It says, but Balaam's error and source of his wickedness came from sabotaging the Israelites as they entered into the promised land, according to Numbers 31 and 16. There we go. Verse 16.
Chapter 1, verse 16?
Yeah. So what he did, what Balaam did was he told Israel, because every time Moab and Ammon tried to get him to speak a curse against Israel, he only spoke blessings. So what he ended up doing was telling them how to separate the Most High from Israel, which was getting them to commit idolatry. You see what I'm saying? So he told them the way we would become cursed and the way we would get the Most High to be angry with us is by committing these sins. You see what I'm saying? And that's what they ended up doing. That's what Moab and that's what Ammon ended up doing. Yeah, it's pretty wicked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see why.
That's why he didn't want Moab and Ammon, because he got us to sin. You see what I'm saying? That's why it says in Psalms, right? They made a confederate against it because all these nations got together and they conspired against us. Right? They seeked out crafty counsel. Psalm 83. You see that? Because that's what they want. They're figuring that how do we overpower this nation who's overpowerful. Right?
It shows how wicked they are. Because why didn't they just join? Why didn't they just follow our laws and statutes and commandments? Maybe they would have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't. But at the same time, when you look at it, it's some people were destined just to be an example to show the Most High's power, to show that He's not playing. Like when you look at Pharaoh,
he puffed him up. He brought him up. He was the mighty king, right? But he had to make an example. Why? Because he didn't want to subject himself to the Most High. He didn't want to subject himself to a man telling him, this is what the Most High said. Let my people go. He was like, hell no. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to harden his heart. I'm going to puff him up, and I'm going to bring him down. Why? So you can see my power, and so my people can see my power. Amen? But then the men who it's set in their heart to do wicked, right? You can't tell them nothing. If you put your mind to something that you really want to do, ain't nobody deviate you from it. Your righteousness and your wickedness. You see that? What you got?
What was it? Oh, that was what you pulled.
Oh yeah, this is Psalms 83. Go ahead, read that real quick.
This is Psalm chapter 83, verse 1. Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
So it said when they lifted up their head, they got prideful. They lifted up their necks like, you can't tell them. They're above that, right? Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
What did they say?
Come, let us cut them off from being a nation.
So they took counsel amongst themselves to say, let's cut them off from being a nation. Read.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
Right, read.
The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab.
You see that? So when you read down, it gives you all the list of these nations that conspired against us. You see that? So all these people, they were always wanting our downfall.
Right, that man Balaam that we're reading about, he was an Edomite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was an Edomite, and the Moabites and the Ammonites, they couldn't figure out how to take us down. There was no other nation that could beat us because the Most High was with us. All these nations had heard. When you read through the scriptures, it says that the fear of us and the dread of us went into every man and beast as we were coming out of Egypt. You understand? Because he had just parted the Red Sea, and we walked through on dry land. Every nation was afraid of us. They're like, damn, these cats walked through the ocean. You understand? So they knew the Most High was with us, so they had to find a way to get in. Well, Balaam was like, the only way you can do it is if they separate themselves from their power, from the Most High. You understand? Have you all ever seen the movie The Golden Child?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy? We're the Golden Child. If you watch that movie in the first part, the white man turns out to be the devil, right? He tells them, he says, listen, he doesn't tell them. It's that little snake lady that's in the room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's asking, why are they trying to get him to eat blood? Why are they trying to get the golden child to eat blood? Well, because if he defiles himself, then he loses his power.
Ooh.
Y'all see that? That's why the so-called white man now is putting little baby embryo parts and human fetus this and all this stuff in everything we do. Right. Because they're trying to defile us. Because if we defile us, we're separated from our power. You understand? Right. Our strength is in the Most High, and dealing with us as undefiled beings. Y'all see that? But if they can defile us in any way, then they separate us. They try to cut off that connection between us and the Most High. You understand? That's why we have to believe in the New Testament, because Romans 8:16 tells us it's the Spirit that bears witness with our spirit that we are the children of God, right? Well, without that New Testament, right, then you're disconnected. You're disconnected by your nationality, by the defilements that you've gone through. You're disconnected in every way. Y'all see that? So you got to believe in the New Testament that gives us the grace. See that? Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law. Like we just read about that curse, right? He redeemed us from the parts of disobedience, the punishments of disobedience. Y'all see that?
Right.
One of those punishments of disobediences is in defiling ourselves with the foods we eat. Y'all see that? That's why the so-called white man tries to defile your food. He tries to defile your drink. Oh, black people drinking Arizona iced tea, was pee in there. You understand? They using vanilla extract in everything they eat. Okay, let's put baby embryo in there. No reason, right? Like I ain't never, you know what I mean? My son used to stick his damn hand in my mouth, foot in my mouth. And no part of him tastes like no vanilla. But you know they want to chop up little baby embryos and throw it in your food now. Why? Yeah, because if they can defile you, then they cut you off from your power. Well, this was going on at the time of Balaam. You understand? Balaam was explaining to Moab and Ammon, hey, if you go ahead and send some women in, send your most beautiful women in there, right? And send some of those Midianite women that's close to them, because they're children of Abraham, so they might accept them a little quicker. Send some of those women in there, make them beautify themselves, right? And then the men will go after these women, and then you have those women have them start sacrificing to other gods, right? To the Moabite gods, to the Ammonite gods. So it worked. The men are chief men of Israel, started going after these Moabite women. They was falling desperately in love with them, as you read in Josephus. You understand? To where they was sacrificing to their idols. And the Most High, at that point, he says, you know what? I'm not messing with y'all. I'm going to hide my face from you. I'm going to see what your end shall be. See that? He cuts off the power supply. So that's when we start getting defeated in battles. And we can't figure it out. Oh, why we get defeated here? Why we get defeated here? Well, because you got these men having sex with these Ammonite women, these Moabite women, these Midianite women, right? Some of them doing it in the congregation. That's why you had that one brother, Phineas. He got up, he stood up for the Most High. Everybody, all these cats was dealing with these different women and everything. He walked through the camp. He went to this brother's tent and stabbed him and his Moabite women right through the damn body with the spear. And the Most High blessed him for that. He gave him a name for that because he put an end to that curse in Israel. He said, and he got up and he said, everybody now look to your brethren, and if they dealing with one of these women, go ahead and kill them. So every Israelite man had to kill another Israelite man for dealing with these nations' women. You understand? Now, we get to Ezra's time, we get to Nehemiah's time, we see, okay, this is what they're recapping on. Oh, Moab and Ammon was over there trying to conspire against us. They was trying to literally disconnect us from the Most High. This ain't about just being the enemy. We had enemies. You understand? So it ain't just about, oh, Moab and Ammon don't like us. Let's kick any of their descendants out of the sanctuary. Now, this is deeper than that. They try to cut us off from the Most High. You understand? They were part of what you read in Psalms 83. They were part of that conspiracy. Esau, doing the same thing today. You got these cats saying, oh, Esau's not the so-called white man. Okay. If they're not, then why does the scripture say that they will be the people that was trying to cut us off from the Most High? That was trying to make Israel no more in remembrance. Well, no other nation did that. It's those Ashkenazi, so-called Ashkenazis over there. You understand? Those Amalekites that live over there. See, they can only be either Amalekites or Ashkenazi. They can't be both. Ashkenaz would be a child of Japheth, right?
Right.
And Amalekite would be a child of Esau.
Right. Oh.
Which would be a child of Shem. See that? So you got two different families right there. They can't be both. They claim to be Ashkenazis when they went up into Russia. And that goes into that fake Jews exposed breakdown.
Right.
All right, but let's go on, man.
Verse 2. Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 2. Because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water.
Sorry, we got a question. Question. Give me Deuteronomy 23, verse 7.
Yeah.
The question is, since our heritage has been mixed among other nations, I have been wondering if we have grace under Deuteronomy 23, verse 7 and 8, in regards to not knowing one's entire father line back to Judah, etc. We can say that, but then somebody else will come back and say, no, Nehemiah and Ezra were after this, and they still held that you got to have your lineage, right?
Done.
So, read Deuteronomy 23, verse 7 and 8.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 7 and verse 8. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite,
Go ahead.
for he is thy brother.
Right.
Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land.
Right. So, no, we're not supposed to hate those people. We don't have time to hate people. You understand? What we are relieved from, that scripture doesn't relieve us from dealing with these nations, like marrying them and all that. We don't tell people, yeah, go ahead and marry the nations. No, you try to stick to your tribe, stick to your people that you know. You understand? Now, if you came in, and in the world you were already dealing with another nation, we don't tell you to put them away under the Ezra law and the Nehemiah law. Because why? Because they were doing it because they were able to prove their ancestry. If you're not able to prove your ancestry, you can't even hold up to Ezra law because you might be an Edomite. You might be a Moabite. You understand? But just because you're dark skinned don't make you a Jew. You could be a Moabite, an Ammonite. Those are all Jews. Those are all dark skinned people. You could be an African. You could be an Edomite because a lot of them went to the Hamite lands and started dealing with Hamites in Esau's history. They still kept a pale skin. They still kept that loss of melanin as a curse. So that's why you see a lot of them Africans, they pop up once in a while and they blonde hair, blue eyes, right? Or they got just red. You can see their blood through their skin. They still carrying on that curse that Esau infected them with. You understand? But no, this scripture don't do it. Now, if you go to Numbers 24, and I think it's verse 7, the blessing that came out of Balaam's mouth. The blessing that came out of Naaman's mouth, or Balaam's mouth, toward Israel. Yeah.
Numbers chapter 24, verse 7. He shall pour the water out of his bucket, and his seed shall be in many waters.
Right. So where was Israel's seed going to be?
In many waters.
So our seed was literally going to be in every nation. That's why you go get Jews out of Germany, because the Germans love black men out there. You can get Jews out of Japan. One of the beauty contest winners just won the beauty contest out of Japan. They ready to stone her because she's blacker than most of us in this class, speaking fluent Japanese. Y'all see that? Yeah. This brother lived in Japan. He tell you. He tell you they black as there's a lot of them black as hell with better afros than you can get over here. You know what I mean? Speaking Japanese. So just because your skin color is a certain tone does not make you of the tribes of Israel. And just because it's not a certain tone, don't make you of the tribes of Israel.
My best friend.
See that?
My best friend. I went to high school with one of my best friends. We were in taekwondo class, and his mom is Benjamin, and his dad is Esau. But he's darker than this brother right here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
A lot of cats doing that, man. A lot of cats growing up, they jamming Lenny Kravitz. His dad's an Amalekite. You know what I mean? You talk about you want to fly away, and yeah. It's like, okay, well, his dad's an Amalekite. You singing Edomite music. Bob Marley, right? No woman, no cry, right? Everybody want to get high and sing some Bob Marley and act like they don't love the white man. Right. Guess what? Bob Marley's a white man. Right. You can't go off the color of the skin. Y'all see that? Romans 8:16. Remember, our seed is in many waters. We just read that scripture, right? So now we got to go with Romans 8, verse 16.
Romans chapter 8 and verse 16.
And using understanding of the scriptures. Right, go ahead.
The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit.
Y'all see that? So what's going to tell you if you're an Israelite or not?
The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit.
And what spirit is that? Get St. John chapter 17.
St. John chapter 17.
17. No, I want even the spirit of truth. I have 15:26.
15 and verse 26. But when the Comforter is come, whom I shall send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth,
right? So what spirit is it?
The spirit of truth.
So what's going to bear witness with your spirit?
The spirit of truth.
Right. Now, what is the spirit of truth? Now read St. John 17:17.
St. John 17 and verse 17. Sanctify them through thy truth.
What truth?
Thy word is truth.
So when you go back to Romans 8 verse 16, knowing that the word is the truth, right? We're going to be, what does it say?
The spirit itself beareth witness.
So the spirit of truth is going to bear witness with what?
Our spirit.
With our spirit. Go ahead.
That we are the children of the Most High.
So that spirit of truth is found in the word, right? Y'all got that? So how are we going to know you're an Israelite? You're going to be reading this and you're going to agree with it. Every word. Nothing want to be omitted. Nothing to be offended about. You understand? And you're going to say, you know what? These are my people. What is the spirit? Deuteronomy 28:68. Oh, these people came over here on cargo slave ships. Israelites went into slavery on ships. Well, let's see what nation on the earth, the only nation on the earth, to go into bondage, slavery, and captivity in ships. So-called Negro, so-called Mexicans, so-called Indians. You understand? Because you got cats out there saying, oh, the Mexicans and the Indians didn't go into slavery on ships. You're a damn idiot and don't know your history. Because before Bartolome de las Casas told them to put blacks in slavery, it was Indians going into slavery on ships.
Right.
You understand? It was Mexicans going into slavery on ships, the natives of Mexico. You understand? So it was those native peoples in slavery on ships before Bartolome de las Casas, and you can read about him, decided to write and petition and say, we need to put these black people in ships, because he was astounded over the atrocities that these conquistadors were committing against the Native American, Native South American, Native Central American people. You understand? Like I said, we got the books.
Right.
We got Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. If you Google Bartolome de las Casas, everything said about him is he was the one to petition blacks be put into slavery instead of the Indians. So they was in slavery in ships before your black ass was.
Right.
Sorry. 722 BC, when they fled out of Israel, when they fled from Assyria, they came over here in ships.
Right.
So they came to the land of their bondage, slavery, and captivity in ships. You can't deny that. This is history. All right? Just so if anybody tries to omit anybody off the sign. Now, who this didn't happen to? This didn't happen to the Caucasian man.
Right.
You understand? This did not happen to the Caucasian man. This did not happen to Africans. Africans sold us into slavery. Didn't happen to Arabs. Arabs sold us into slavery.
Right.
You understand? So you didn't come here as some African that ended up over here. All right? These are the things that we got to know, that the Spirit is going to bear witness. So as you wake up, you're going to start seeing, oh, dang. Oh, just so you know, you can also get Isaiah 61 verse 9 to back up that Numbers 24 verse 7. 61 verse 9.
Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 9. And their seed shall be known among the Gentiles.
What?
Their seed shall be known among the Gentiles.
Where will Israel's seed be known?
Among the Gentiles.
Uh-oh. So, no, you ain't teaching you. You a Gentile. Oops. You just killed one of the seeds of Israel that was known amongst the Gentiles. Y'all see that? Read on.
And their seed shall be known amongst the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You mean there was going to be brothers that's going to be standing up on the podium teaching that got kids with an Edomite, with a Moabite, with any of these other 18 nations outside of Israel, with a German woman, a Spanish woman? Uh-oh. Now, is that for us to do it on purpose? No, you don't purposefully disobey the laws of the Most High. But the things you didn't know, Most High overlooked that. Acts 17 verse 30. In times of ignorance, the Most High winked at.
Right.
You understand? And then you got Amos 9, verse 9. For lo, I will command. So this is a commandment from the Most High. I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. How do you deny that?
Yes.
How do you deny that Israelites are everywhere? That they're not just in North, Central, and South America? See that? That they're not just on the Western Hemisphere. No, there's Israelites everywhere. Like I said, we can go into all the scriptures on this. Isaiah 43 tells you that we're going to be pulled from the valley from Sinim. Sinim is China. You understand? All these scriptures are showing you this, man. So how do we know? The Spirit got to bear witness with our spirit.
Right.
That we're the children of the Most High. That means we got to go in the scriptures and say, oh, the law, statutes, and commandments of God in Christ. I have no problem following that without trying to find a loophole. I'm not trying to eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster when the Most High said don't eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, because the Most High said don't do it.
Right.
And that's what I'm about. I'm about pleasing the Most High. See that? And if I'm a descendant of these people brought over on cargo slave ships, more's the better. That's a little more proof for me that that's who I am. Y'all see that?
Right.
But you got certain brothers, so-called brothers, right? Dark skin, nappy hair, right? And they get in this word and they like, I ain't doing that. Well, what spirit do you got on you? Right?
Antichrist.
Well, remember, you know, people be like, oh, the white man's the devil. Guess what? The devil's black. Think about it. He's an angel of light.
Yeah,
The angels are all dark skinned. You understand? When Christ was walking the earth, and when John the Baptist was walking the earth, and he was pointing at them black people that was around him, those Jews, those Pharisees, he said, you are of your father the devil. Well, how's he father the devil if they Israelites? Y'all see that? If the only devil is the so-called white man, then why is he calling these Israelites the devil? Y'all see that? Because their spirit bore witness with the spirit that they were not the children of Abraham, that they were not the children of the Most High. Y'all see that? And you're going to have that today. These same brothers and sisters that's running around talking about all the 12 tribes is Negro. You have no understanding of history or the scriptures. And two, your spirit is now bearing witness that you're not a child of the Most High.
Right.
Simple as that. Because a child of the Most High going to go through this book to determine who's an Israelite and who's not. Y'all see that? Like Christ said, man, there's many going to be entering into the kingdom that you'd have never thought, man. He said, many shall be first that are last, and many of the last shall be first. You know what I mean? Shoot, we over here, you know, we had brothers for, you know, decades teaching all the white men, all these people the devil, and some of them are going to be watching some Edomite they was cursing out on the street corner walking in the kingdom before them. Because it turned out his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was Solomon's son. You know what I mean? But he was so light-skinned, they wouldn't let him into their camp. It's going to be a trip, man. That's why he said, leave that stuff to the angels, man.
That's why the scriptures say, woe to him who causes my little ones to stumble.
Yeah.
Because if you trying to kick somebody out because they too light-skinned,
right.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly what Tim Nichols is talking about on here. Tim Nichols said, is that the confusion of faces from the Bible? Yeah, Daniel's 9-7. If it's 9-7 or 7-9, I flip them around sometimes. But when you read that, you find out that yes, we had confusion of faces put on the children of Israel. And to all of Jerusalem. And all of Judah. Y'all see that? 9-7, right?
Yeah.
That's why you see in a lot of these movie stars, they're like, oh, damn, he's a white man. Or, oh, damn, he was black. I didn't know that. Like that book I was showing you, right? That Nature Knows No Color Line. You go through that book by J.A. Rogers. Bunch of movie stars people thought was black. Turned out to be white. Bunch of movie stars people thought was black or was white. Uh-oh, they were passing.
Oh.
That's where we get that phrase from, back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Right? These cats was passing. They was escaping being hung and lynched and blackballed and blacklisted and all that because they looked white.
Right.
But they pops as black as the ace of spades. but their mom was white. You know what I mean? Or their mom was Asian, or their mom was Hispanic. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, you look white. Charlie Sheen. Yeah, you know that dude's name is Carlos Estevez. His father, his brother is Emilio Estevez. Right? He changed his name to Charlie Sheen for Hollywood. But he got a movie that he did. It's more Hispanics in it, and he uses his real name, Carlos Estevez. Y'all see that? His father, Martin Sheen, was Martin Estevez.
So he Issachar?
They're Issachar, man.
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Damn.
Why do you think they gave him AIDS, man? Issachar ain't talking about 9/11, blowing the lid off of that.
Right? Yeah, he actually did. He did come out with
Yeah, now all of a sudden he got AIDS.
Right.
he bumped his name.
Y'all see that? What? Whitney Houston starts becoming a Hebrew Israelite. All of a sudden she dead.
Right.
Lamar Odom, right?
Yeah.
He walking around with the true face of Christ on a clothing line he put out. All of a sudden he overdosing on herbs? How you overdose on plants? Ain't that the same way they push it weed? Like you can't overdose on it?
Right.
Yeah, you can't die. You can't OD on marijuana.
So how do you OD on herbs? On herbal medicine? I take like 24 damn herbal pills a day, at least. I ain't overdosing on them. Because you can't overdose on plants like that. You understand? Unless they add something to it. But all of a sudden, this dude overdosed and he found in a damn brothel.
Drew.
Right? Like you went from kicking it with the Kardashians. He could have went down the damn hallway to Kim Kardashian's and hit that if he wanted to. Everybody else did. Why would he be in a brothel when he got the top stars of Hollywood in the industry? You know what I mean? The top porn star, Kim Kardashian, right down the hallway. But now he found face down in the damn brothel. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, come on, man. All these stars that you like, oh, okay, they sold out. They this, they that. You gonna find out going through their little backstory that either they was trying to represent Israel or they was trying to blow the lid off of something Esau did.
Right.
Y'all see that?
I think he's like a Wesley Snipes. He's on more type of little Egyptology type thing. But
Right. And all of a sudden, he's 3 years in prison on tax evasion. I got a sister right now that I know can get you out of tax evasion. You know, like all she gotta do is write a letter to the IRS and they back off you.
Right.
But you telling me Wesley Snipes, $1 million a movie, can't get no help?
Right.
From taxes? But see, that's why it says many that are first, they're gonna be last. Many people you thought, Wesley Snipes, he looked like a Nigerian, man. He looked like a Hamite. But who knows? See that?
Oh, it was 1 Timothy 1:4.
What's that?
It says, neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies,
Right.
which minister questions rather than godly edifying, which is in the faith.
That's why once you bring this scripture out, a lot of those Ezra and Nehemiah types, oh, we don't believe in the New Testament. Well then, cool, we done talking. That means you don't even believe in the Bible. You can't cut the Bible in half and then tell me you believe in the Bible.
Oh, I got one more.
You see that? What's that?
It's Titus 1:14. It says, not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth.
Y'all see that? These are stories. These are like, this is what we feel that you should be going off of. We're going off of DNA. Do you know how imaginary DNA is? They're gonna have. I guarantee you, one of these niggas is gonna be related to like Puff the Magic Dragon in a few years because that DNA is inadmissible anywhere. You know how many niggas is getting off right now just because of some DNA evidence? They've gotten messed up when they had their trial for rape or murder. You got people every day. I did 34 years in jail because my DNA evidence was inconclusive. Carbon dating. Oh yeah, you carbon dated something? Like carbon date, they don't carbon dated stuff that was born yesterday to be 5 million years old. They just found out the carbon dating they did on the dinosaurs was inconclusive because they found soft tissue in the dinosaur bones. Soft tissue means it wasn't fossilized 65 million years ago. It could have died last week because the tissue is still soft. See that? So all this scientific so-called discoveries and all that ain't going to refute the Bible. And a lot of brothers is going to find out that their DNA test was inconclusive and they are not Israelites. And you're going to find out a lot of brothers and sisters that thought they weren't or were taught that they weren't are Israelites. That's why we got to use the scriptures as that stumbling block and rock of offense. That's going to trip up the ones that look like sheep, but they wolves. You understand? Because they're going to get to a part where it's going to come down to, okay, eat this grass. And the wolf in you ain't going to want to eat that. Right? You understand? It's going to come down to follow his commandment. And the wolf in you ain't going to want to do that. Dang. Y'all see that? And the Spirit's going to bring out of you what nationality you are. Because like I said, the Moabites, the Ammonites, it was black. Hamites, black. Zidonians, Hittites, Perizzites, all the people the Most High said utterly destroy them and kill their kids, they was all black. The whole known world at the time of the Bible was black. Right. Okay. You understand? It wasn't until people like Cain, where the Most High hated him and turned them lepers, and then Esau, who the Most High hated and turned him leprous, and then Gehazi, who the Most High hated and turned him leprous and made him white. You understand? Anybody the Most High hated, he either turned them white or killed them. As you read through the scriptures, you're going to see that. He either made them pale skinned and leprous, or he killed them. When Miriam messed up, what did he do? Turn her white, head to toe. Right? She became leprous, white as snow, right? So he hated them. Y'all see that? This is because, you got a lot of people that say what we teach is incorrect. Esau's not the so-called white man. Well, then where and who is it? Right? For real.
Who's the one who covers the faces of the judges?
Right. Who's running the earth right now?
Who is that beast then?
Why is every character in the Bible on a movie screen depicted as white? Right. How the hell are you in the middle of Africa and you got Elizabeth Taylor? You know what I mean? You got Charlton Heston as Moses, who they confused, who they mixed up with an African that's in Egypt. You know what I mean?
Brother said DNA don't know anything.
Christ is on the seashore talking to 500 men along with their wives and children. You know what I mean? But everybody's white. But then when you need a deep voice in a movie to narrate somebody, who you go get? You go get James Earl Jones.
Right, y'all thought Darth Vader was white. You watching Star Wars. You know what I mean? They pulled that helmet off, he was white, but his voice was black the whole time. Yeah. James Earl Jones is the voice, and they had some white man actually be the character. See that?
Be the voice of the Lion King.
Mufasa, yeah, he's Mufasa.
Same voice, yeah. But I mean, the Lion King is a bunch of Africans, so, there it is. So I can't watch Coming to America no more, man. I'm still waiting for him to say Simba. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing, man?
My son works.
Right? But movies like that, they was always dropping the truth in them, man. Right. You know what I mean? Like, even when you look at the Jewish guy they had in the barbershop, right. Who played it? Black man. Right. Why? The true Jew was black. You know what I mean? You watch the movie Barbershop, right? In the movie Barbershop, I don't know if y'all heard that when they was arguing back and forth, and he said, what about the Jews? They got reparations for the Holocaust. He said Jews didn't get reparations for the Holocaust. Holocaust victims did. Oh, they know. Hollywood knows. You understand? And they throw it in there real subtle. You know what I mean? Throw one line in there and tell you and let you know. But you watching the whole movie like, you caught up in that. And you're like, instead of, wait, what did he just say? What did he just tell about the golden child? How do you got to defile him? By making him drink blood? By making him mix his DNA? By going into witchcraft and everything? That's the only way to defeat the golden child. Otherwise, he got all this spiritual power. He can heal. Who is that? Christ did that, right? Right. But he wasn't defiled. Y'all see that? Where we at? Went kind of deeper over there. Yeah, Deuteronomy 23 verse 8 is just telling us that we are not supposed to hate a white person or a person that's Egyptian. We're not supposed to go into hating them. That's what abhor means. All right?
They wasn't even made for man in the first place.
Right. We're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to hate the Most High. What are we doing hating people when we ain't even built our nation yet? That don't make sense. I don't got room. I've said this many times before in class because somebody always brings this out. But we don't have time to hate people while we're building a nation. Christ said, any man putting his hand to the plow and looking back is not worthy of me. You understand? Yeah, we teach the history. Yeah, we teach what they did so we know to watch out for them in the future. Right? And we know what we understand what to expect from them. You understand? Like if we see a sister marry a white man, and the white man ended up screwing her over and leaving her down there homeless, we can expect that. Why? Because he's a white man. His spirit is not bearing witness to what his skin color did. You understand? Like we seen it in his skin, but we still went ahead and taught the brother in class. We didn't abhor him. See that? But then his spirit brought out what his skin color was already showing us.
Right.
Y'all see that? But like I said, many that are first shall be last. Many that we thought was Jews, dark skin, oh, you must be Jamaican, you must be Judah. Turned out your spirit bear witness you're a white man inside. Y'all see that? Because you ain't got no interest in building the nation of Israel. You ain't got no interest in helping your people. All you care about is making yourself look smart, right. Making yourself look like a god. Well, that's the mentality of Esau in the Bible. When you go to Habakkuk 2 and 4, and they talking about Esau, and he said his spirit, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. That's showing you what the determining factor is. You understand? That if your spirit is lifted up, you're not an upright person before the Most High. So you're not counted as one of the righteous, as an Israelite. You understand? But if you're a just man, you're going to live by your what? I just said it. By your faith. Y'all see that? So that's what's going to justify you in the sight of the Most High, not just your skin color. All right?
I was paraphrasing it, but it was Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha. It's chapter 10 and verse 18. It says, pride was not made for men, right? Nor furious anger for them that are born of a woman. Yeah, you see that? So those are two characteristics. That pride, that when you fall into pride, that's the beginning of sin, when one departs from the Most High, right? And that furious anger. What is that furious anger? That's the one that creates that hatred, that, you know what I mean? That potential premeditated murder. You see that? That wasn't made for the Most High, or for men that are born of a woman. A woman's born of a woman. That's not made for a woman. You see that? When the Most High says, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated, he can do that. That's not our place to. Abhor not an Edomite. That's a command. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, we don't like the wicked.
Y'all get that? Now, the scriptures say you hate the evil and love the good when you read in Psalms, right? Okay, well, hate the evil, love the good. That means it didn't say hate the whites, love the blacks.
There's wicked blacks.
Y'all see that? So that goes right along with what we read in Deuteronomy 23 and verse 8. That we're not to abhor the Edomite. Why? For one, in this day and age, you don't know who the hell is an Edomite and who's not. You're not to abhor an Egyptian because half y'all niggas ain't even been to Egypt. To hate one. And then if you do get across one, you in America anyway. So you in Egypt. You understand? And if you won't say you hate an Egyptian, a person from the house of bondage, which is America, then you might be hating one of your own. Because not too long ago, you were an American. Not too long ago, before you knew you were an Israelite, you were an American. You were an Egyptian. You understand? So yeah, we don't abhor an Edomite. We don't abhor a Moabite, an Ammonite, any of them. We ain't got time to. I love my people too much. Hating anybody else is taken away from the love I got for my people. Y'all see that?
Oh, and that goes into what judgment you judge, that's going to be judged of you.
Right.
So if you're short-tempered, and you're so quick to cut off somebody because they light-skinned or because it's the white man, guess what? The Most High, Christ, he's going to do the same to you. Just as quick.
Where we at?
Nehemiah.
Oh, dang. She brought out a good point. Because, Samuel's uncle, right?
Right.
He had told her she had to follow her bloodline by having some nigger babies.
Hold on, say it again.
I was thinking, huh?
Sammy Sosa?
No, Samuel Smith.
Oh.
And so what happened was, now this dude, he's like, apparently he's a Mason, right?
Right.
But now he got hit with a stroke. So now he can't talk, he can't move. They put him in a nursing home.
I'll bring them kids right up there too.
Bah!
What's your kids raising?
The guy got hit.
But you the master race.
But you the master race, supreme, right?
Mason.
You
White.
You can't even get air bubbles in your bloodstream.
Ooh.
That's all the stroke is. You got a big air bubble in your bloodstream.
Right. That's
Make your brain skip.
Most High is not mocked. Most High is not mocked.
dang. Medically wise, I don't know if you're going off through type of situations. Okay, that is true though.
Yeah.
That's it.
Because you had some nigger babies.
Right.
I mean, you had some kids but outside of your race that are actually that became the seed of the Most High. Yeah.
Wait till he get up to that judgment gate like we was reading up the other night and find out that the last name Brown is what Germans used to call people that was black in their family. They spell it B-R-A-U-N or B-R-O-U-N or B-R-O-W-N here. You understand? But a lot of these Browns and Schwartzes and niggers and stuff like that, Schwarzenegger, the black nigger. Schwarzer means black. You understand? So all these cats, that's why I said read that book that I was telling you about. That Nature Knows No Color Line, they go through all the breakdowns, all these people's names. If your name had Moore in it, you understand? Maurice, Moorish, Moore, whatever. Morris, Philip Morris, Tobacco Company, black. You understand? They gonna find out, like, ooh, I was over there hating niggas all this time, but I am one, and I'm still going to hell.
Like Dave Chappelle.
What's that?
Math.
Oh, the basic degree.
Yeah.
Are you a master basin? You can't even keep from getting a stroke, man. The Illuminati got you, and they can't save you.
He tries to move, man.
Where are we at, man? Let's read it.
Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 2. Because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water, but hired Balaam against them, that he should curse them. Howbeit, our power turned the curse into a blessing. Verse 3. Now it came to pass, when they had heard the law, that they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude. Verse 4. And before this.
So this is where everybody want to skip to. They want to skip to where they separated the mixed multitude and go off of that law. You understand? But what they want to skip is that everybody that wasn't a mixed multitude had to prove it. Y'all see that? Go ahead.
Elias, the priest, having the oversight of the chamber of the house of our God, was allied unto Tobiah. Verse 5. And he had prepared for him a great chamber, where aforetime they laid the meat offerings, and frankincense, and the vessels, and the tithes of the corn, and the tithes of the corn, the new wine, and the oil, which was commanded to be given to the Levites, and the singers, and the porters, and the offerings of the priest. But in all this time was not I at Jerusalem, for in the 2 and 30 year of Artaxerxes, king of Babylon, came I unto the king.
See, these are the things that you like to skip over. That's why your pastors don't read these books in church. Artaxerxes is Xerxes on 300. This was an actual historical figure. That big ass black man with all the gold all over his face and everything else, that was this Xerxes right here. You understand? You got the Babylonian Xerxes, and then you had in Persia, they had another Xerxes. Is what we're going to go into when we go into the book of Esther.
You said Babylon, Xerxes was?
You got this Babylonian Artaxerxes, right? In the book of Esther, following it, you got another Artaxerxes that was the king of the Persians and Medes. That one is the one that is you see it in 300.
Oh, so it's not this one.
It's not this one. Not this one. Sorry.
Because I remember reading back when they said Artaxerxes, where he basically, I forget what prophet was it, but he saw it lawful that the Israelites still obeyed their laws and commandments. He respected the Most High.
Right. Yeah. That way he did with Cyrus. You got Cyrus and Darius.
Okay.
They were kings of the Persians and Medes after. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, we going into the book of Esther. That Artaxerxes, her husband, that's who you see in 300. King of the Persians and Medes. Because who were they fighting in 300? The Persians, right? That was ruled by Xerxes and his hordes, right? And they was fighting against what? The 300 who turned out to be Jews? The Jews of Sparta? Yeah, you got to read into that.
So Xerxes wasn't that bad because he still honored and upheld his wife's customs, which were of her people, because she was from Benjamin.
No, that Xerxes was of the nations. He didn't uphold our customs. He just married Esther.
He just married.
Yeah.
But
she was up under his rule.
But didn't what's his name? Her uncle
Mordecai.
Yeah, Mordecai. Didn't he put him on a horse and paraded him around for? Yeah,
for the people of that nation. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, basically that Xerxes, he didn't start. It wasn't. We were up under his rule, basically. You understand? But he saw the wisdom of dealing with the Most High.
Right. But he didn't stop us from doing our sacrifices and our prayers.
Well, at one time, he was going to kill all of us.
Right.
He's the one that sent out the command because Haman had convinced him to do that.
Huh.
Like I said, when we get in that book of Esther, we'll be reading about that. We'll probably do that next week. We'll finish this chapter and then we'll start at Esther. Yeah.
I thought the king's name was Ahasuerus.
Let me see.
Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus, right?
And that's the same as Xerxes
Let's see.
in Esther.
Hope I'm not mixing them up. Let me see. We got Vashti the queen. Where am I thinking this Xerxes is at? I might be thinking of a whole different story. I'm sorry. Oh no, let me get your Zonda down. Let's see. Right, see Ahasuerus, right here, representing the Persian, which in Greek became Xerxes.
Okay.
See that?
So I was wondering, is that the same person?
I was like, I know I ain't tripping. I've been saying that for a long time, so I remember looking that up. That's what it was. So. Yeah, and it says the father of Darius the Mede, mentioned in Daniel's 9 verse 1. See that? So when you're dealing with these people like Ahasuerus, you're dealing with the same time frame as Daniel. Y'all see that? That's how you connect these different time frames together, because if you're looking at the Bible chronologically, you're like, well, damn, this was hundreds of years later. No, these people actually rolled together. You understand? Mordecai more than likely rolled with Daniel. You understand? We just read a bunch of names in Ezra and Nehemiah, whose fathers, their great grandfathers or whatever, were rolling with David. So this was not too long after his time. Y'all see that? And they were the choir members, and they were these great men with David. Y'all see? Then we also read about Daniel, and we read about Micah and things like these other prophets at the time of Nehemiah and Ezra. They was rolling all together. Y'all see this? So yeah, it's important to know those names and hear those names a lot so that you can kind of connect the dots over here. All right? But yeah, let's finish this chapter, man, and then we're going to dismiss class a little early.
All right, and we were at verse 6. Verse 6. But in all this time was I not at Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Xerxes, king of Babylon, came I unto the king, and after certain days obtained I leave of the king. And I came to Jerusalem, and understood of the evil that Elazar did to Tobiah, in preparing him a chamber in the courts of the house of the Most High. And it grieved me sore. Therefore I cast forth all the household stuff of Tobiah out of the chamber. Then I commanded, and they cleansed the chambers. And third brought I again the vessel of the house of the Most High, with the meat offering and frankincense. Verse 10. And I perceived that the portion of the Levites had not been given them. For the Levites and the singers that did the work were fled, every one to his field. Then I contended with the rulers and said, why is the house of God forsaken? And I gathered them together and set them in their place. Verse 12. Then brought all Judah the tithe of the corn and the new wine and the oil unto the treasuries. Verse 13. And I made treasurers over the treasuries, and Shelemiah, the priest of Zadokah, the scribe, and the Levites, Pedaiah, and the next unto them was Hanan, the son of Zaccur, the son of Mattathiah. For they were counted faithful, and their office was to distribute unto the brethren. Verse 14. Remember me, O my power, concerning this, and wipe not out my good deeds that I have done for the house of my God, and for the scribe, and for the officer, and for the office thereof. Verse 15. And in those days I saw in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in the sieves, and lading asses, and also wine, grapes, and fig, and all manner of burden, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Question mark. Verse 18. Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us, and upon this city? Question mark. Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. Verse 19. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. Yeah. Verse 20. Huh? Yeah, it is. Verse 20. So the merchants and the sellers of all kinds of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Verse 21. Then I testified against them and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. Yeah.
They're not talking about prayer hands.
Nah.
That's a spirit. Come on, man.
Oh.
I'm gonna lay hands upon you.
We said lay hands upon you.
Right, you can get these things.
From what time? Verse 21. And I testified again. I testified against them and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time forth came they no more on the Sabbath.
Right.
You see that? Like, look, bro, you're causing people, like he was giving the example about buying and selling, right? If it's necessary, then that's what we do. Like we have the business open at the mall, then that's what we got to do. But you're purposely, on purpose, causing these people to do this on the Sabbath day. Look, you causing my people to err. You keep doing this, I'm gonna put hands on you. Right?
That's a prophet, man.
Right? Like he said in Spartacus, he said we will have words. We gonna have them words, right? Yeah, it's serious because they took this is our custom. You know what I mean? The wrath of the Most High ain't no joke. You causing wrath upon us for no reason. Look, I got to deal with you. I got a problem with that. Right? Just like Akan, we kept losing the battles. If you look back at our story, we were losing a bunch of battles because the Most High said not to touch the spoils.
Right.
And Akan, he wanted to take the spoils and he put it up under his tent. He was causing Israel to get their butt kicked. He was causing men to die in battle for no reason. They found out he was the source. Come on. They stoned him, his family, right? Yeah. Righteously. They put hands on him. They put stones on him. You know what I mean? But righteously. You see that? Where's that? Verse 22. And I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves and that they should come and keep the gates to sanctify the Sabbath day. Remember me, O my God, concerning also, and spare me according to the greatness of thy mercy. Verse 23. In those days also saw I Jews that had married wives of S.O.W. and Ammon and Moab. Verse 24. And their children spake half in the speech of S.O.W. and could not speak the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. You see that? So they knew the nation's native tongue, but they didn't know their own language, which was Hebrew. You see that? He found these Jews, these men married other nations, and they can't speak their own native tongue. These children. Verse 25. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Verse 26. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? By these things? He's showing you, like, look, you guys are following down the same line Solomon did. And what happened? The kingdom was ripped out of his hand because of this. And you want to follow the same damn thing?
And I got to make mention of this. As you see, their kids didn't even speak Hebrew no more. See, the whole nationality was disappearing now because these brothers was marrying these strange women and letting the women take over. You got to think, if you're a Jew and you speak in Hebrew and you're a man and you marry a woman that's Chinese, right? And your kid grow up speaking Chinese instead of Hebrew, right? Or let's say you're a God-fearing American and your kid grow up speaking Chinese instead of English. Who did you let run the house? Who did you let have control over the rest of your lineage? Was it your nationality or was it someone else's?
Right.
This is the point. See that? That's why he made it a point to bring out that their kids didn't even speak Hebrew. You understand? This is how bad these men had fallen. They became simps, man. They became little chumps and was whooped and was let their women run the whole show. So they got these women to these other nations and started worshiping their gods, just like Solomon got these women to other nations. Was that the problem? No. It was that he let them lead him to other gods. Because David had women to other nations. They didn't lead him to no other gods over. He was too strong for that. You understand? Moses did drop the law about marrying other nations. He had 2 women that weren't Israelites. He had an Ethiopian and a Midianite. But he didn't go off to their gods. You see that? That was the whole point. Was you over here worshiping these other nations' gods. You married this woman, but you let her teach your kid her ways, not you teach her your ways. See that? When you deal with Ruth that we read about, right? Ruth, she was a Moabite, but guess what? She got taught the ways of Israel. See that? She learned the ways of Israel. Her husband taught her to be an Israelite. And she said, I'm going to cleave to you and your gods.
Right.
You understand? So when we read about people like this, we got to understand that they didn't get the people that were marrying these women of other nations, they didn't go following after their gods. Why did Ezra and Nehemiah make it so that you got put out? Because, damn, bro, your kid don't even speak Hebrew. Are you serious? You let your woman run the whole damn show? You probably got a boo in your house right now, huh?
And if you look at it, because you're talking about Esther being a Moabite, right?
Right.
So when she had a child, she didn't even teach them. She didn't even teach the child her customs. She taught them the Hebrew customs.
Yeah, you don't read about David. You know, David was in the lineage from Boaz and Ruth, right? You don't read about David worshiping the god of the Moabites. You understand? You don't read about him building a tabernacle to Molech or Kion or what's the other one? Remphan. You don't read about him doing none of that. Y'all see that? Who do you read about doing that? His son got weak to women in his old age. When he was senile, his women convinced him to go deal with their gods. Y'all see that? David never went off to no other gods. Who else you got in there, man? You got a lot of brothers that had wives of other nations that never went off to their gods. Abraham had Hagar. She was an Egyptian. He didn't go worshiping the gods of Egypt. You didn't hear about Isis and Ra and all that coming out of Abraham's mouth. You understand? Why was he pulled out of Ur of the Chaldees? Because he was living in a place where they was worshiping other gods.
Right.
See that? He got pulled out of that because he would worship the Most High. Y'all see that? It's these weak-minded men that, like I said, you got to look at the mentality of a man that will let his kids grow up not even knowing Hebrew. You understand? That will let his kids grow up not knowing their own customs and nationality, but they know all the women, all the moms' customs.
Right.
That's not right, even if you're an Israelite. And your Israelite woman is running the show, that's not right. That's not the order. That's why he set that down in 1 Corinthians 11. Y'all see that? That's why the Most High gave him that curse back in Adam's time that said, your desire shall be unto him, talking to that woman. So you're going to be up under him. You're going to learn from that man. Y'all see that? because that's out of order. So if they were Israelite men, that their kids, and men and women couples, you know what I mean, that your kid don't know the laws, your kid don't know the statutes of the Most High Christ, your kid talking about Easter, Thanksgiving, you should be cut off. Y'all see that? Like, you've been in this class, more than a few years, and your kid is still talking about, I want Christmas presents, your ass need to be cut off. Because he's still Americanized. You're still Americanized that you ain't got that out of him. You understand? So this was the premise of why Ezra and Nehemiah was kicking them out. Y'all see that? He was kicking them out because of them taking on those customs. Why do you think it went from talking about the Ammonites and the Moabites, that they tried to cut us off from the Most High, to now kicking out these nations? Y'all see that? Because these nations were successfully converting Israelites into their customs. Y'all see that? And consistently. That's why he went in there. He just said the kids were speaking half Asher and half this. Y'all see that? Well, no, bro. If you are going to marry a nation, for one, you're going to marry a bad one. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to marry the top dogs. You ain't going to be, you know what I mean? Like, you see Judah walking through the mall with a 300, 400-pound white girl. Like, no, that's not how we did it, bro. Solomon had 700 wives, princesses, meaning kings' daughters of other nations were given to him. Right. Those are going to be the baddest women on the planet of those nations. You understand? Come on, we have the 12 tribes of Israel to look at, and you think we dipped into the other nations for a 400-pound white girl? You understand? No, we was dealing with the baddest of those nations. You understand? And the only way we dealt with them is if we converted them to what we were. You understand? Right. Simping now. Yeah, but like he said, they simping. You know, they over there letting their wives teach the kids their customs. Now they got gods and orchards and groves to these other gods. It's like, man, you let your woman run you cut off. You bowing down. See that? You and your family cut off. That's why we got Israelites in other nations, because of Ezra and Nehemiah. These brothers be like, oh, you married to an Indian woman or something like that? Like, no, she actually an Israelite, but her family got kicked out into India in Ezra and Nehemiah's time. So while you following Ezra and Nehemiah, know this: they're part of the reason Israel scattered all over the earth. They're part of the reason we got Israelites in China right now, because they was like, hey, take you and your family and get out. And they was kicking out Israelites and their children.
Dang, that's heavy.
You don't understand?
Dang, because then I was thinking about Sakanoye. Sakanoye was Korean and he was the Israelite, he was black. Right. You know, and obviously they got kicked out to Japan. Well, we're not kicked out, but he was found in Japan, you know what I'm saying? But he's originally Korean, so I don't know exactly how he got over there. But
yeah, like, you gotta think, these brothers was dealing in Israel. They was dealing in these Middle Eastern lands and North African lands, right? And they kicking out their families, right? Where did those families go? They went east. Right. They went off to China. They went and got kicked off to Japan. Right. They went and got kicked out to India and Persia and all these other places, man. That's why Isaiah tells you he's gonna be drawing us back from all these different places. Why? Because Ezra and Nehemiah kicked their ass over there. But their kids, their progeny, you understand, is gonna be looking back and finding out, oh damn, I might have been one of these kicked out during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah. And he got the Chinesest eyes you ever seen, if that's a word. You know what I mean? He been eating rice his whole life. And he gonna find out he was supposed to be eating barbecue. Y'all see that? But yeah, was that the end of the chapter?
No, I'm on.
All right, go ahead.
Verse 26. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his God,
and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause him to sin.
They caused him to what?
To sin.
What was Solomon's problem?
Outlandish women caused him to sin.
Right. So now we see the premise of why we're not supposed to be marrying their daughters and marrying their sons. Right? If you ain't got the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High Christ, what you gonna be doing? You gonna be getting a perm, walking around, you know what I mean, on a skateboard with some Skechers on, and celebrating 4th of July and Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna take on their customs, not knowing who you are. Now, once you're rooted and you know who you are, if you can convert anybody, I'm not saying we do this. Like I said, we teach. We don't go deal with these women. Because when we in the kingdom, that's when these nations are going to be converted unto us. You understand? Right now, it ain't for us to go out there and be like, oh, dang, I can go deal with a white girl now? Because I know the premise of Ezra and Nehemiah. No, you still can't deal with them. But if you did it already, and now you know the truth, you ain't got to cut that off. You ain't got to go under the Ezra and Nehemiah statutes right there because, but I'll say this, it's your choice. It's your choice. If that's what you want to do, you do that, but the scripture tells you to let the wheat and the tares grow together. When you read Matthew 13, when you read Matthew chapter 25, you find out the angel's going to separate those things. Is that the end of that?
Lie.
Yeah, because we got a question, but go ahead, read that.
Verse 27. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil, to transgress against our God in marrying strange wives? Question mark. Verse 28. And one of the sons of Jodiah, the son of Elisha, the high priest, was son-in-law to Sanballat, the Horonite. Therefore I chased him from me. Remember them, O my God, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood and of the Levites. Verse 30. Thus cleansed I them from all strangers, and appointed the wards of the priests and the Levites, everyone in his business. Verse 31. And for the wood offering, at times appointed, and the first fruits, remember me, O my God, for good.
All right, so y'all got any questions on what we just read? All right. So far as the question online, you can read Ezekiel chapter 33. I think it's starting verse 15, right? Is the wicked restore the pledge? The question is, what happens to the other nations? Are they entitled to the kingdom as we are?
Yes, 33 and 15.
When you read Ezekiel 33, verse 15 down, he says that the wicked restore the pledge, give again what they had robbed, and walk in the ways of righteousness, they shall surely live, they shall not die. That is a form of salvation. But that life does not mean that they're going to be lords over us.
Right.
You understand? That means that when Christ comes and he's slicing niggas' heads off, he's slicing Esau to ribbons, and he's slicing these nations and put us in slavery, he's going to go to that white man and be like, hey, you followed the law, statutes, and commandments, and you taught men to do so. So I'm not going to kill you. That's all that means. You understand? You're going to be a servant to Zion Allah over here.
Isaiah chapter 14.
All right? So, yeah, you got Isaiah chapter 14, Isaiah chapter 60. These chapters tell you explicitly what's going to happen to the nations, the people of other nations. But what do they have to do first? They got to give again what they had robbed. They got to do alms. They got to do tithes. They got to pay homage to Israel. They got to walk in the ways of law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High in Christ. And like Isaiah 60 verse 12 tells you, the nation and kingdom that will not serve you shall perish. So they won't get salvation. They will be destroyed. All right? So yeah, that's Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 15 down. You got Isaiah chapter 60, the whole chapter. And you got Isaiah 14. You got Isaiah chapter 2, verse 1 through 5, where it tells you all the nations and kingdoms of the earth is going to come to us and ask to learn the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High in Christ. You understand? And once they've done that, they're going to beat their swords into plowshares. And they're going to realize there ain't no war to be had with these big, giant Negroes that's running the earth right now. So we're going to beat our swords into plowshares and we're just going to have peace.
Peace in the Middle East.
Y'all see that? What else? Zechariah 8, verse 23. The nations are going to grab hold of the skirt of him that's a Jew. And they're going to say, look, teach us your ways. All right? Jeremiah 16, verse 19. All these nations are going to wake up and they're going to say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein is no profit. Y'all see that? Mm-hmm. So all these scriptures are going to show you that, yeah, they got a chance at salvation, but are they going to be in like the kingdom of heaven? Are they going to be dipping into his father's house that has many mansions? No. They're going to be servants here. They're going to be stuck here on this planet being servants to the Israelites here. All right? There's going to be your janitors, your dog walkers, your whatever you feel like. If you still got a grudge, nigga, go pick cotton. You know what I mean? Like if you actually took time out to go back into the memory and you're done praising the Most High, like, I'm going to be so happy to be there. I ain't going to care who's in slavery. Just get the work done. You know what I mean? But even still, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be lording over them. Like, look, go take care of this. You know what I mean? My dog poops on the staircase. Go handle that.
My toast needs butter right now.
You're right. You know what I mean?
Handle that, Hillary.
Y'all see that? So that's going to be their position. So if you see a chariot outside your house and it doesn't leave, what does that mean? That means you probably want to drop you a salute and make sure you don't anger that angel or demon or whatever that might be inside that chariot. All right, I would drop the salute and just roll on. Jeremiah 10 tells you, do not be amazed at the signs of heaven. You know it's a chariot. There it is. If it want to follow you around, what you going to do? Tell it to stop? You can't command angels yet. You know what I mean? You don't get to tell them what to do. So if you see a chariot, you salute, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Atah, bless you, or however you want to say it in whatever language you know, all right? And you roll on. Don't be amazed at the signs of heaven. What then do the church talk about that Jesus said only follow 2 laws now? Love him and your neighbors as yourself. Those are the 2 laws. All the law does rest on that. When Christ said, listen, love your neighbor as yourself and love, how was it? Worship the Most High.
With all your strength, with all your might.
Right, with all your heart, mind, and spirit, and love your neighbor as yourself. All the law is about that. That's why he said, on these 2 commandments hang the whole law. You understand? Because if you love your neighbor, you're not going to let them eat pork. Why? I don't want a worm eating your brain. I love you. See that? If you love your neighbor, you're going to teach them the ways Christ dealt. Yeah, you sin, but I'm not going to stone you because you got grace. Y'all see that? Because I love you. Why am I not letting your kid backtalk you? Why am I putting him in his place? Because I love you. And this is how a nation is run, off of families. You see that? Families make communities, communities make cities, cities make states, states make countries. You understand? Countries are nations. So if we gotta build it from the bottom up. He said, what then do they, the church, talk about that Jesus said only follow 2 laws now? Love him and your neighbors as yourself. Those are the law. When you love God, was it 1 John 5:3? He tells you this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. So if you love God, you're going to keep his commandments. Love the Most High with all your heart, mind, and spirit. What does that mean? Keep the commandments. That's the love of God. Y'all see that? If you love your neighbor, keep the commandments of the Most High in Christ. Show him the commandments of the Most High in Christ. Like it says in Leviticus 19 and verse 17, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. Thou shalt not suffer sin upon him. What is sin? 1 John 3 and 4. Sin is a transgression of the law. Y'all see that? So you're not going to let your neighbor transgress. Why? Out of love. You're not going to let your neighbor break any parts of the law. You're going to update him. Hey, you celebrate Thanksgiving, man. Don't you know that that commemorates the slaughter of over 100 million Native Americans? No, I didn't know that. Did you know that you might be family to those Native Americans? Just by your nationality. I didn't know that. Well, now you know. Y'all see that? So this is what we're supposed to be doing. Showing that love. Right. Yeah, 1 John 3 and 4. You have that other scripture where Christ said that about all these hang the commandments?
Which one?
Where Christ was talking about on these things hang all the commandments? Because they asked him, they said, what is the greatest commandment? He said, worship the Most High, love the Most High with all your heart, mind, and spirit. He said, and the second is like unto it.
22 and 40.
Read that.
Matthew chapter 22 and verse 40. On these two commandments hang all the law.
Read up. So 35 or something.
Come. Then one of them, this is Matthew chapter 22 verse 35. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law?
So what these churches don't understand, first of all, the dude was a lawyer. So he's trying to trap Christ in his words. You understand? And see if he's going to talk against the law. All right? So he said, what's the greatest commandment? Because he knows, as a lawyer, if you break one law, you break them all. That's what the law says. You understand? Go ahead.
Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
Why is that the greatest commandment? Because if I love you, I'm going to do what you say.
Right.
Y'all see that? Go ahead.
Verse 38. This is the first and great commandment.
That's the first and greatest commandment. All right? Why do you think the 10 commandments start with, I am the Lord your God that brought you out of the house of Egypt, out of the house of bondage? Because that was the first commandment. Right? That you acknowledge that this is who's talking. The Most High is speaking. And you love him, so you're going to listen to him. Y'all see that?
Gone.
Go ahead.
Verse 39. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right. See, so all the Christians want to do is say, oh, see, Christ did away with the law. So all I got to do is love. Well, what is love, dummy? What is love according to the Bible? Let's go off the first greatest commandment Christ said. He said, love God, right? Read that again where he said that.
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 27. And Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
So see, the law's done away with because I love God. Well, what is love? Go there.
1 John 5 and 2.
5 and 3.
5 and 3. 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God.
This is the love of God. What is the love of God?
That we keep his commandments.
Uh-oh. So it's not that I just love Jesus? It's not that I just said the sinner's prayer and I love God?
Oh.
The love of God is when you keep his commandments. There ain't no other way to show your love.
It's not in just in words.
Except for the second commandment that Christ drops. The only other way. What?
Because it's not, it is because you're saying that for the love of God is that we keep his commandments, right?
Right.
So it's not just the sinner's prayer. Why is it not just the sinner's prayer? Because the scripture in 3:18 says not love in word, but in deed and in truth.
Right.
You see that?
See that? So we can't just love by word. You got to actually do it. See that? And then that leads you into the second commandment, the second greatest commandment, which was what?
This is verse 40. On these 2 commandments hang all the law of the prophets.
Before that, what did he say right before that?
And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
That's the second greatest commandment. Why? Because when you've done it unto the least of his children, you've done it unto him. So how do you love the Most High? You keep his commandments. How do you love your neighbor? It's just like the first commandment. Keep his commandments. Y'all see that? Because they both the same law. He said the second is like unto it. Y'all get it? Right. So hopefully that answers your question. They said, could it mean you're a terror if the chariot doesn't leave? That's not a sign of who you are. That chariot being there, do not, remember, Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1, 1 and 2. Don't be amazed at the signs of heaven. A chariot, you seeing a chariot, it being there, that's one of the signs of heaven. Don't be amazed at that. It's just a chariot. That's what they do. If they want to hover there all damn day, cool. You know what I mean? If that, as long as that demon ain't, as long as it ain't a demon coming into your house, messing with you and your kids or whatever, you're fine. It might be there for protection. All right.
Hebrews 13:2.
I want to get this other question. Can you talk about 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 16 to 17?
So 1 verse 2.
1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16 and 17.
For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, and the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of the Most High. And the dead in Christ shall rise first. So, rise first. Verse 17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be cast up together, shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air. And so shall we ever be with the Lord.
Right, so that's giving you an instance of how we're going to be taken up if we remain righteous. So we're going to be caught up with the clouds. I'm talking about the chariots, those UFOs. So you could be one of the chosen. You don't want to be shooing the chariot away, and that's the one supposed to take you up out here. So let that alone. You don't want to mess with these angels in their business. If they want to watch you, let them watch. You understand? They're recording all your. Just know this. I would be on my P's and Q's because the Most High said He got an angel watching every hour of the day what you do. You understand? He got 24 angels that report to Him all day and all night about everything that's going on this planet and about every person. So when He said the hosts of the Most High encampeth round about the righteous, that the angels of the Most High encamp about the righteous, that's part of that camp. You might be looking at that. I would watch myself. I would watch what I'm doing. Because now that you can see, it's evident that they're watching your deeds. All right, and they're reporting. Yeah, you got some times where you don't see them, but they probably went back up to report on you, tell on you. But yeah, this where we're going to be. Oh yeah, that whole rapture thing. If a Christian come at you with the rapture, ask them to find you rapture in the Bible. Simple as that. All right. This is talking about what's going to happen when the chariots come after Christ parts the clouds, kills the wicked, the elect, the 144,000, the leadership of Israel is going to be taken from here into Israel. Not all the 1/3 of Israel is going to be taken up in the chariots. The other third will be brought back in ships. Read Isaiah chapter 60. He says, your sons and your daughters will be brought to you again from far. The ships of Tarshish and the ships of Kittim are going to bring them back to Israel. So some of them are going to be brought back in ships, just like they went into slavery in ships. You understand? And then the elect are going to be the ones taken up in them chariots and brought over to Israel to run the place. All right? So there ain't no rapture for every single person to put a little cross on and all of a sudden he's just gonna disappear into a chariot and get taken up.
Because they probably be thinking of that, Matthew.
Yeah, they think of Matthew 24. They think of 2 in the field, one's caught up and the other one left.
Right.
That's what all those movies were about in the 80s, man. The Rapture, the who's it? Damn.
Oh, you Left Behind.
Left Behind. All the movies they used to play them on the little films, right? It would be movie day in church. You'd be watching all of a sudden there's just a pile of clothes there. Mom come in the door looking for the kid, and there's just a pile of clothes on his bed. So he just got taken up butt naked into heaven. Right? That's not for them. That wasn't for all the white people they had started in that movie. If you got taken up and all that was left behind was your clothes, you're probably getting raped in one of them chariots. If you was these nations. You understand? Y'all see that? These demons probably caught you up too. You understand? But those ones that get taken up in the chariots, that's going to be after Christ comes back, kills our enemies. Then they get taken up. All right? But yeah, with that, we're going to conclude class. Usually I know I run it pretty late, but I'm having technical difficulties with my body right now. So we're going to conclude class, and we'll see y'all Monday. All right, Monday we got class from 7 to 10 p.m. Wednesday, 7 to 10. Friday, 9 to 11:30 p.m. And then we'll do class next week also from noon to 3. All right, that's our Sabbath class. And with that, we're going to say shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.